83%. Chapter 401. What is the difference between this and giving the other party a backdoor to cheat? The other side. In that ancient tomb, cave mansion, the space was distorted and changed. Kai Yan and Kai Dai, as well as Mu Yan and Ni Lin, all appeared in cave mansion. Look around. This is a huge underground cave. 12 stone pillars engraved with mysterious runes support the cave like the pillars of heaven. And on top of these 12 huge stone pillars, a giant python with a size of thousands of feet was entangled, and the scales all over its body shone with 9 colors. This is a 9-color sky-swallowing python. It's just that the section where the 9-color sky-swallowing python's heart is located is inserted into the body by a giant rusty heavy sword, and the physical body cannot sense any vitality fluctuations at all. Obviously, this 9-color sky-swallowing python was pierced through the heart with a sword. Even if he managed to escape to cave mansion, he still died due to serious injuries. And this 9-color sky-swallowing python is surprisingly the last empress of the sky-swallowing python clan, Ling Yao. A terrifying existence whose cultivation had reached the 9th level of the emperor. Is this the inside of cave mansion? Looking at the 12 stone pillars in front of them and the 9-color sky-swallowing python, Kai Yan and Kai Dai's eyes narrowed. The 9-color sky-swallowing python in front of me has been dead for thousands of years. But the coercion on his body still makes people feel heart palpitating. What a terrifying bloodline pressure. Although this body is dead, it uses a formation to seal the blood essence. If the descendants of the sky-swallowing python clan get it, it will be enough to transform their bloodline and cultivation level. Compared to Kai Yan and Kai Dai's amazement, Mu Yan and Ni Lin entered cave mansion. His eyes were all fixed on the sky-swallowing python, his eyes full of excitement and greed. If you get this sealed bloodline essence, it will be no less than getting part of Empress Ling Yao's cultivation initiation. Teleporting is to the core area of cave mansion without any assessment. When Mu Yan and Ni Lin were greedy, Kaiyan glanced around, her expression becoming extremely solemn. Generally, after a strong person falls and leaves a legacy in the cave mansion, some assessments will be set. Even if someone is destined to enter it, they must pass a series of assessments before they can enter the core of cave mansion. But now, after the 4 of them entered the cave mansion, they were teleported directly to the core area. This made Kaiyan feel a little strange and uneasy. After being tortured for an hour, classmate Bo Saishi sent a photo, saying that she had just had her hair done. Would you like to try her dynamic bob? I was dumbfounded. Buzz. When Kaiyan's thoughts fell, the stone pillars in cave mansion suddenly shook. Such movement made several people's expressions change. What happened? Could it be that the remnant soul of the Empress is about to revive and prepare to choose the next heir? Seeing this kind of movement in front of them, Mu Yan and Ni Lin were a little excited, and they both started to speculate. 4 descendants with the bloodline of the Emperor-grade sky-swallowing python actually came in. As the 12 stone pillars vibrated, an indifferent voice suddenly resounded. I saw the 9-color sky-swallowing python that had already fallen. At this moment, he suddenly opened his closed eyes, revealing a pair of gray and empty eyes, and his eyes fell faintly on several people. You guys are all very nice. But within the world of Kanglan, natural selection is the only way to win. Only the most outstanding person can obtain the inheritance of this emperor. What? After hearing these words, the expressions of several people changed. Doesn't this mean that they should fight each other? As the former empress of the sky-swallowing python clan, she actually wants 4 descendants of the bloodline to kill each other. Is the design of this assessment a bit too unreasonable? You only have half an hour. The ring cannot be opened in cave mansion, you can only rely on your own strength. If there are more than 2 people alive in cave mansion within half an hour, all of you will be wiped out by this emperor. When Kaiyan and others were shocked, those words echoed again. The expressions of Kaiyan and others became extremely gloomy. Are you looking for an heir? Or raising GU? For a while, Kai Yan and Kai Dai, as well as Mu Yan and Ni Lin, all realized that the cave mansion was actually a trap. It was probably built by this empress to achieve a certain purpose. And this purpose, it should be to resurrect oneself, or to be reborn through reincarnation. Ni Lin, let's work together to kill these 2 women first, and then we will have a life and death battle. Although they also have the blood of the sky-swallowing python, they are not the same as us after all. After various thoughts flashed through his mind, Mu Yan took the lead and spoke to Ni Lin. No matter what the ultimate goal of this former empress is, there is nothing wrong with killing as many people as possible first. Your suggestion is very good, let's do it together. Ni Lin's eyes flashed slightly when she heard this, and she responded indifferently. Although she was worried that Mu Yan would backstab him, in a melee between 4 people and 2 versus 2, the latter had a better chance of survival. When the thought falls, Mu Yan and Ni Lin both exploded in cultivation, and the 9-color sky-swallowing python blood in their bodies suddenly boiled. Accompanied by a roar, the shadow of the 9-colored sky-swallowing python appeared behind them. The next moment, swept by the 9-colored flames, it headed towards Kai Yan and Kai Dai to kill them. Defend with all your strength. Seeing that the 2 men took action without hesitation, Kai Yan's pupils suddenly shrank and she subconsciously blocked Kai Dai. Saint King's cultivation at the 4th level exploded to the extreme. It seemed that he was trying to block the divine ability attacks of these 2 people by himself. Elder sister. Kai Dai's expression changed when she saw this, but she didn't have any fear. During the burst of cultivation, he also rushed forward and stood side by side with this sister. In the shining of 9-color light, 2 ferocious 9-color sky-swallowing pythons also appeared behind Kai Yan and Kai Dai. Then the powerful divine ability was also displayed, but its power was much weaker than that of Mu Yan and Ni Lin. 2 bastards who came out of nowhere have the guts to confront us, the orthodox bloodline. Looking at the divine ability of Kai Yan and Kai Dai, Mu Yan showed a sinister smile on his face. He also has the bloodline of the 9-colored sky-swallowing python, and his cultivation level is even stronger than that of his opponent. Without the ability to activate the storage ring and use some external objects, it would be too easy to kill these 2 people. Get ready to hit the target. Just when everyone was bursting with divine ability, Xiao Chen's words suddenly resounded in the minds of Kai Yan and Kai Dai. Immediately afterwards, Kai Yan felt it. Xiao Chen's true soul descended into her sea of consciousness, but the other party did not compete for control of her body. I just said this to them. At the same time as the words sounded, the void between the 2 of them was torn apart like a piece of paper at this moment. Accompanied by a dragon roar. A shadow of the chaos ancestral dragon burning with the power of thunder and fire roared out of this space crack. Together with the divine ability displayed by Kai Yan and Kai Dai, they all hit the attacks of Mu Yan and Ni Lin. In the echo of the roar, Mu Yan and Ni Lin's divine abilities were exploded on the spot, and they were blown away by the storm. A large mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, and his face showed a look of disbelief. What's the situation? Seeing the overthrowing chaotic world purifying thunder and fire, Mu Yan shouted sternly with a distorted expression. This is Empress Ling Yao just now. Doesn't it mean that this cave mansion cannot activate the Naji, cannot use any external means, and can only rely on its own strength to fight? But why can these 2 women in front of me tear apart space? What's the difference between summoning such a terrifying giant dragon of thunder and fire and opening a back door for cheating? 83%. Chapter 402 Killing Mu Yan and Ni Lin, Empress Ling Yao revives. Facing the shock of Mu Yan and Ni Lin, Kai Yan and Kai Dai showed no mercy. After the phantom of the ancestral dragon condensed by the chaos-purifying thunder fire exploded the 2 people's divine ability attacks, and severely injured them both. Kai Yan and Kai Dai split into storm blasts, one blasting against the other 2. This is the ensuing terrorist attack. Mu Yan and Ni Lin were severely injured again, and their chest bones cracked like fried beans. Asshole, you damn bitch. Feeling that his body had been severely injured, Mu Yan screamed loudly in his dying struggle, and his body burned with terrifying 9-color flames. Mu Yan was originally in human form. At this moment, it transformed into a ferocious 9-color sky-swallowing python, which was of course much smaller in size than the one in Cave Mansion. This is Mu Yan's true body. The pure-blooded 9-color sky-swallowing python can transform back and forth between the human form and the sky-swallowing python form after entering the Saint Realm. The human form is conducive to combat because of its smaller size, but to a certain extent it will limit the display of strength. The form of a sky-swallowing python. This is their peak state. The brutal attack power and the defense condensed by the scales are not comparable to the human form. But right now, Mu Yan had just transformed into the form of a sky-swallowing python. A spear condensed with terrifying power of thunder and fire, tearing apart the space and bursting out from Kai Yan's side. This was released by Xiao Chen, who urgently used the system space to temporarily seal the attack, and then used the divine method to descend into Kai Yan's sea of consciousness and open the system space next to the opponent. Even if there is a formation blockade in Cave Mansion, there is no way to restrict this operation. Puff. It was almost like lightning, before Mu Yan could react. The thunder fire spear penetrated Mu Yan's head and nailed the opponent's huge python body to the stone wall of the cave mansion. This scene made Ni Lin's pupils almost explode, and also frightened the remaining soul of Empress Ling Yao. She has obviously used formations to suppress the space in cave mansion. Not only does it prevent outsiders from teleporting in, it also prevents the creatures in the cave mansion from opening their own storage rings. It can even suppress the power of Emperor Weapon and King's soldiers. But why can these two people in front of them tear apart space at will and summon such terrifying attacks? Let me go. Seeing Mu Yan die in just a moment, Ni Lin was so frightened that her face turned pale, and she quickly begged Kai Yan for mercy. But as a Medusa queen, Kai Yan could not be a kind-hearted Madonna. The figure instantly approached Ni Lin, completely giving up on defense and launching a divine ability attack. He held the long sword in his hand and slashed down at Ni Lin. Boom. The next moment, Ni Lin wanted to activate the protective jade pendant on her body, but was restricted by the formation in Cave Mansion. The difference is less than a second. Kai Yan's sword light struck the opponent, cutting a gash in the opponent's chest. And Ni Lin is also cruel. When the guard's trump card was suppressed and unable to dodge the sword, she thrust out a sword with a crazy expression, and stabbed Kai Yan's chest and ribs hard. Kill me and you will die too. The long sword pierced Kai Yan's chest and ribs. Ni Lin shouted with a ferocious expression, and poured all the true energy in her body into the long sword, trying to destroy Kai Yan's internal organs in one fell swoop. But at the same moment, another sword light fell and hit Ni Lin on the back of the head. Let this imperial daughter spit out her last mouthful of blood. He turned his head stiffly and saw another cold face. It was Kai Dai who was looking for an opportunity. I'm sorry, this king should not die. Kai Yan looked down at the sword that pierced her chest and ribs. After saying something expressionlessly, she slapped Ni Lin's body with her palm. Completely end this emperor's daughter. Immediately afterwards, after pulling out the long sword from her chest and ribs, a burst of white light flashed across her body. Kai Yan's injuries recovered instantly. There was just a hole in the clothes, and a hint of snow white could be seen. Such a weird scene. The remnant soul of Empress Ling Yao was horrified. Being stabbed in the chest and ribs and recovering in the blink of an eye. What kind of perverted resilience is this? Is it possible the descendant of the sky-swallowing python in front of me has some kind of mutation in his bloodline and has a terrifying self-healing ability? Think of this. Empress Ling Yao's heart was filled with excitement and greed. If this woman could be taken away and the blood essence of Integrated Union's original body was taken away, she might be able to live a second life. In the future, when her cultivation reaches the 9th level of the Emperor, and coupled with this incredible self-healing ability, her combat power will explode far beyond that of her original body. At that time, she will return to the sky-swallowing Python clan and regain her throne. It's not impossible for her to kill Jun's son with her hands in retaliation for her murder. Can I tolerate being provoked by classmate Bo Saishi? I rushed out of the hotel, found the opponent and used a set of 1000-year kill and demon sealing wave, turning the opponent into a speedy Bo Saizi. You two are very nice. But this emperor's inheritance can only be passed down to one person, the Integrated Union. Next, if you two can survive to the end, you can get the essence of this emperor's bloodline. When the thought falls, Empress Ling Yao's words echoed in the cave mansion, trying to trick Kai Yan and Kai Dai into killing each other. In her opinion, facing the inheritance of a female emperor, even siblings can't resist the temptation and kill each other. Use the formation to seal off the cave mansion and select suitable prey. After we entered the cave mansion, instead of simply choosing one to seize the body, we first lured a group of us to kill each other. It seems that this remnant soul of yours doesn't have much strength. In other words, in order to seal the essence of your bloodline as much as possible, you paid an extremely heavy price, and even some methods cannot be used now. Right. After Empress Ling Yao finished speaking, Kai Yan and Kai Dai did not start fighting. Instead, they sneered and looked above Cave Mansion. Kai Yan even revealed her guess, which instantly plunged Cave Mansion into deathly silence. I have to say, you are indeed very smart, but smart people often die the fastest. Next moment, as these words echoed, the stone pillars in Cave Mansion also lit up one by one. The entire Cave Mansion shook violently. An indescribable imperial power also swept through Cave Mansion. But you're only half right. In order to seal this bloodline essence, I usually cannot use much power, not even enough to deal with creatures in the Saint King realm. But this does not mean that this emperor's remaining soul does not have much strength. When the last sentence fell, The dead 9-color sky-swallowing python had 2 flames igniting in its gray and empty eyes. 9-colored light fills the entire cave mansion. It was like a long-dead horror came to life in this moment. In order to seal this bloodline essence, she really couldn't do it at will. Once you get started, it would be impossible to seal the blood essence again. That is to say, she only has one chance to seize integrated union's body. Once she misses the remaining soul and blood essence, it will only dissipate. That's why she is so cautious. First, these people are bewitched to kill each other, so as to check the potential of these people and select the most suitable body. And now, after realizing that Kyan's body was extremely extraordinary, she finally made the decision to take away this person. Sister, what should we do? Seeing the 9-color sky-swallowing python in front of her fully revived, Kai-Dai's originally calm face became a little pale at this moment. A dead great emperor. Even if he can only exert part of his strength after a short recovery, that is still the terrifying emperor realm. The 2 of them are only at Saint King level, how can they resist this Empress Ling Yao? Don't panic, we still have a husband, he can handle it. After hearing Kai-Dai's words, Kai Yan's expression remained calm and she comforted the other person softly. Since Xiao Chen lets them enter the cave mansion, he will naturally have enough trump cards to deal with it. Therefore, even if the Empress recovers briefly, she will not feel much panic in her heart. This is the trust in Xiao Chen. Sure enough, just as Kyan finished speaking, Xiao Chen's voice came from her sea of consciousness. 83%. Chapter 403. At this moment, their minds are united. Baby, do you want to feel the ultimate power of the Emperor realm? Kyan was stunned when she heard Xiao Chen's words. Let her feel the strength of the Emperor realm. Does her husband still have such means? But this wasn't what surprised Kyan the most. What surprised her the most was that Xiao Chen actually called her baby. It's equivalent to calling her by her real name in the past, and also calling her the little coquettish queen in private. Although this title is a bit disgusting. But she still likes it so much. Use your death to welcome the new life of this emperor. When Kyan was aroused by Xiao Chen's words, Empress Ling Yao's words echoed again. The body of the 9-color sky-swallowing python that was originally dead actually re-emerged with a wave of vitality after the power of blood essence was activated and exploded. Although this kind of vitality is just water without roots and cannot last for long. But it was enough for this empress to burst out with the power of an emperor. And as the words echoed, Empress Ling Yao was also straightforward and did not play around with Kai Yan and Kai Dai, but directly mobilized the formation. The terrifying power of the formation suppressed the entire cave mansion. The surrounding space seemed to be solidified, making the colorful smoke and colorful butterflies unable to move. But also at this moment, Xiao Chen's true soul completely took over Kai Yan's body. A crystal card flew out of the system space, and the next moment it shattered into a ball of light points and sank directly into Kyan's body. This is the Emperor Realm Cultivation Experience card. Originally, the Emperor Realm Experience card could not be used by others. But if you use the method of divine descent to control other people's bodies, you can use these props without any hindrance. After all, the system exists dependent on his soul and true spirit. No matter which body his soul and true spirit is in, he can use the system functions anytime and anywhere. This is the abnormality of cheating. It is also the biggest reason why he dares to let Kai Yan and Nai Dai enter Cave Mansion. Boom! Almost at the moment when the light point merges. The cultivation aura on Kyan's body surged crazily at an incredible speed, as if she had eaten strong explosives. Just in the blink of an eye, the fluctuation of cultivation level reaches the Emperor realm, and the terrifying imperial power sweeps away. The surrounding space confinement collapsed instantly. An extremely ferocious 9-color sky-swallowing python is entrenched behind Kai Yan like a law manifestation, and its tail is shrouded in Kai Yan's guardian. Elder sister. Seeing the sudden change in her sister, Kai Dai couldn't help but open her mouth, with a look of disbelief on her face. When her sister also became an empress. No, this is Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen entered her sister's body, and the two of them were in perfect harmony, directly integrated union. Damn it, why does it feel so perverted yet so exciting? What happened? How can you be an emperor? Compared to Kai Dai's shock and excitement, Empress Ling Yao was horrified and frightened. She never thought, the woman in front of me actually has the strength of the Emperor realm. And that kind of cultivation fluctuation is not the ordinary Emperor realm, but has reached the peak of the Emperor realm. Isn't this just inviting the wolf into the house? What a wonderful feeling. Is this the mystery of the Emperor's realm? While Kai Dai and Empress Lingyao were shaken, Kai Yan was also feeling very uneasy. This moment, she could still feel the presence of her body, but she had temporarily lost control of her body. At the same time, Xiao Chen's presence can be clearly sensed. That wonderful feeling is simply mysterious and mysterious, like the unity of thoughts. After returning to the hotel after work, I was interrogated by Medusa classmate again. I quickly said that I was a Dragon Ball fan and had gone out to watch Super Saiyans. Medusa classmate still looked suspicious. Feel carefully, this is the terrifying power of the great emperor level. When Kaiyan was distracted by this, Xiao Chen's voice rang out. The method of divine descent can be divided into two types. One is to forcibly shield the opponent's soul body and true spirit, thereby seizing and completely controlling the opponent's body. In the past, he used this simple and crude method to deal with 5 elements undead corpse chief, Tian Xingjian and others. Another kind. All visual perceptions are shared, but he is the dominant one. And at this time, what he uses for colored smoke is the second type of integrated union. It can make the other party feel this terrifying power to the greatest extent. As the words fell, Xiao Chen ignored Empress Lingyao's shouting and just raised her hand gently to press the void in front of her. Terrifying 9-color flames swept out, and the space in Cave Mansion instantly became distorted. Countless formations are constantly collapsing and shattering. The cave that was originally just 1,000 feet in size turned into a world of thousands of miles at this moment. Look around. Everywhere is filled with 9-color flames. The tongues of fire were like 9-colored sky-swallowing pythons, shuttling back and forth in this terrifying sea of fire. This scene once again shocked Empress Lingyao. Change the world. Only those who have reached the ultimate level of the Emperor realm and come into contact with people on another level can twist the laws of heaven and earth and change the world. Even at her peak, she couldn't do such a thing. Who the hell are you? In a state of extreme shock, Empress Lingyao shouted again. With such strength and the bloodline of the 9-colored sky-swallowing python, he must not be an unknown person in the eastern domain. But she didn't have any information about this person in her mind. Could it be that in the years since her death, a new powerful great emperor was born from the sky-swallowing python clan? Dead people don't need to know much. Xiao Chen was still very indifferent when he heard this. After pressing his hand to the void in front of him, he raised his hand slightly. The void ahead suddenly exploded. A rusty ancient lamp and a huge desolate cauldron also appeared in this void. These were the immortal soul lamp and the great wilderness soul refining cauldron. The terrifying imperial power swept away in an instant. The immortal soul lamp is suspended in the sky. A wisp of flame floated out from the lamp head, and then turned into a sea of flames that filled the sky and fell down. The soul refining cauldron of Dawang was suspended below, and in an instant it expanded to a size of 100 miles. As the 9-colored flames poured in crazily, a giant cauldron phantom evolved in the void, completely sealing off the world. Tongues of fire continued to rise into the sky, and then continued to gather towards Empress Lingyao. 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Seeing such a terrifying offensive in front of her, the remaining soul of Empress Lingyao was almost frightened. Even if she activates her bloodline essence and resurrects her body now, she will only be able to exert her strength at the 5th level of the Emperor at best. Such strength, not to mention dealing with the Great Emperor realm, even the 7th level of the Emperor realm is hard for her to compete with. The person in front of her not only showed Great Emperor level strength, but also activated 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons to suppress her. This is simply insane. In a state of panic, Empress Lingyao crazily activated her cultivation, and the huge 9-color sky-swallowing python body kept struggling in this sea of fire. The 12 stone pillars exploded with great power, turning into a large formation and blasting together with the sea of fire. The roaring sound shook the heaven and the earth. But in the face of Xiao Chen's overwhelming power, any divine ability attack the Empress used could only be forcibly exploded like a bubble. That kind of devastating blow to the soul and body made this Empress truly realize that death was coming. Let me go. I am willing to become your vassal and willing to sacrifice everything for you. Please don't kill this emperor's last chance of survival. In times of life and death, Empress Lingyao shouted hysterically at Xiao Chen in a state of complete mental collapse. Thousands of years in the making. It took a lot of effort to find a suitable body, but it turned out to be a terrifying death-seeking god of death. This result was unacceptable to her and made her extremely unwilling. If he is killed again this time, he will not even have his soul left. 84%. Chapter 404. If they dare to attack by force, they will be killed without mercy. I'm sorry, you are more useful dead than alive. Hearing Empress Ling Yao's words, Xiao Chen's eyes turned cold. This guy just now. But if you want to seize the colorful smoke and kill the colorful butterfly, how can you buy yourself a glimmer of life with a simple surrender now? Not to mention, if they didn't kill this guy and smelt the opponent's blood essence and residual soul power, wouldn't Kai Yan and Kai Dai's time be in vain? When the thought falls, Xiao Chen's outstretched palm suddenly clenched tightly, and the whole starry sky let out a shocking roar. The terrifying nine-color flames kept pouring down, and a strange soul lamp also appeared on the head of the nine-color sky-swallowing python. As the lamp flames burned and the nine-color flames impacted, the huge python body of Empress Ling Yao continued to collapse under the attack. Damn it, even if I die, I won't take it easy on you. Hearing Xiao Chen's words and seeing the surrounding offensive, it became more and more terrifying at this moment. Empress Ling Yao roared with venom in her voice. The body of the nine-color sky-swallowing python was filled with a destructive wave. The nine-colored flames continued to rage. The cracks were like spider webs, spreading rapidly on the huge python. Want to blow yourself up and destroy your body? Seeing Empress Ling Yao's movements, Xiao Chen's expression did not change, but a cold light flashed in his eyes. The next moment, the projection of the immortal soul lamp that was originally suspended above Empress Ling Yao's head suddenly exploded. A destructive force, like a causal link. It also exploded in the sea of consciousness of Empress Ling Yao, completely obliterating the remaining soul of the other party. A generation of Empress completely fell. The terrifying energy condensed in the nine-color sky-swallowing python, after losing the control of the remnant soul of Empress Ling Yao, raged like a wild horse running wild. But also at this time, Xiao Chen controlled Kaiyan's body and appeared in front of the nine-colored sky-swallowing python, placing his palms on the huge head. Under the terrifying power of the great emperor level, the energy surging in the nine-color sky-swallowing python gradually calmed down at this moment. This guy burned a lot of blood essence, but what's left is enough for you to transform. Feeling the blood essence contained in the corpse, Xiao Chen said something to Kai Yan and Kai Dai. As these words fell, the seals in Xiao Chen's hand kept changing. The Dawang soul refining cauldron completely enveloped the body of the nine-color sky-swallowing python. The nine-color flame continues to burn for smelting. As time goes on, the body of Empress Ling Yao was completely refined, turning into a pool of blood like flowing silver, exuding a heart-stopping energy. However, after being refined by Xiao Chen, the blood essence has become very mild. As long as a creature has the bloodline of the sky-swallowing python, it can easily absorb an integrated union, allowing its own bloodline and cultivation to transform. The time is coming. Next, you and Kai Dai will refine this bloodline essence in the great wilderness soul refining cauldron. Just leave the outside matters to me. I feel that the time limit for the Emperor Realm Cultivation Experience card is about to expire. Xiao Chen said something to Kaiyan in the Sea of Consciousness, then recovered the treasures left by Empress Ling Yao in the cave mansion, and returned control of her body to Kaiyan. With the support of this pool of blood, Kai Yan and Kai Dai may be able to easily break through to the peak of the Saint King realm in a short period of time, and it is even possible to break through to the Supreme realm. Besides, she can also inherit some of the divine ability of Empress Ling Yao from this bloodline essence. For the two girls, it's definitely an unimaginable opportunity. Husband, thank you. Feeling the departure of Xiao Chen's true soul, Kaiyan had a complicated look on her face after regaining control of her body. In just a quarter of an hour, not only did he help them solve the crisis easily, but he also made her feel the power of the great emperor level, and even gave them a chance. This life, with a husband who is so dedicated to them, there will be no regrets even if he dies. When the thought falls, Kai Yan and Kai Dai entered the soul refining cauldron of Dawang and began to integrate union and refine the blood essence. My sister-in-law suddenly got angry and said, I must have gone out to have a private meeting with my young lover, so I could just tie him up and beat him up. This made me so angry. Do you really think that wearing white silk stockings can destroy my innocence? Outside the cave mansion, time goes back to nearly a quarter of an hour ago. When Mu Yan was nailed to the stone wall of cave mansion by Xiao Chen, Tian Kui and Tian Shi suddenly opened their eyes and looked at cave mansion with unbelievable expressions. What happened? Mu Yan actually died. The two looked at each other and saw each other's shock. Mu Yan is the emperor's son in the clan and the 7th generation great-great-grandson of the great elder Mu Wei. His talents and qualifications are among the best in the clan. How come the cave mansion fell within half a quarter of an hour after entering it? But before Tiankui and Tianxi could calm down, Nilin's desire to stay with them was gone. This made the two of them look shocked again. Nilin is dead too. How can this be? The two sons and daughters of the great emperor died one after another, and Tiankui and Tianxi's scalps exploded. These two sons and daughters of the great emperor are the pride of their clan. If each one can be cultivated, he will become a powerful emperor in the future. Now they are falling into the cave mansion one after another, without even sending out a distress signal. Is it possible? The cave mansion, the ancient tomb of Empress Lingyao, is a trap, specially designed to kill the descendants of the sky-swallowing python clan. Boom! Just as the two of them were speculating in their minds, a roar suddenly erupted in cave mansion. The entire ancient tomb cave mansion trembled crazily, and a destructive energy wave spread out from the ancient tomb cave mansion. What a terrible movement! Is she not dead yet? Seeing such shocking movement in front of them, Tiankui and Tianxi made guesses one after another, and their expressions became extremely gloomy at this moment. Blow open this cave mansion, and you will know what happened. When their expressions became gloomy, both Tiankui and Tianxi stood up, and their cultivation in the Emperor realm exploded. Stop them. If they dare to attack by force, they will be killed without mercy. When their cultivation levels exploded, Xiao Chen glanced at them. He said with a cold voice to Tian Xingjian, Tian Xie and others. Finished. Xiao Chen didn't pay attention to this anymore, so he entered the pavilion and sat down cross-legged. Use the method of divine descent to descend into Qian's sea of consciousness space. You two, we have agreed to let the four of them enter the cave mansion to compete for the opportunity. What do you two want to do in such a furious manner? When Xiao Chen finished speaking, Tianxing's fitness form appeared in front of cave mansion, and the emperor's 7th level cultivation level swept across and exploded. The emperor's son and daughter of our clan are dead, and there is something strange in this cave mansion. Seeing Tian Xingjian suddenly blocking the front, Tian Kui shouted with a gloomy expression. Jia Jia Jia, your clan's emperor's son and daughter are dead, and you just want to blow up the cave mansion. We two demon lord ladies can explore inside. If the two of you attack cave mansion, can you afford anything that happens inside? Just as Tian Kui finished speaking, Tian Xie also appeared next to Tian Xingjian, looking at the two men's harsh words and laughing strangely. The atmosphere outside cave mansion instantly became tense. With such terrifying energy fluctuations, something has obviously happened in cave mansion. If you don't break the cave mansion restriction in time, I'm afraid your demon lord's wife will also fall inside one after another. Hear Tianxi's words. Tiankui took a deep breath and responded in a low voice. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Life and death are determined by fate. We can just wait and see. Tian Xingjian waved his hand when he heard this and said with a very indifferent expression. If you insist on attacking by force, get past us first. To know, Xiao Chen can even resurrect the dead ancestor of the great wilderness, and he can even unleash the terrifying power of the great emperor realm. How could he let his two wives be in danger? Therefore, they only need to calmly follow the instructions and leave everything else to Xiao Chen. 84%. Chapter 405. It's only been less than half an hour, and the exploration has already been completed. After Tian Xingjian finished speaking, Tian Kui and Tian Zai's expressions turned gloomy. Now that you two have said so, let's wait a little longer. After a moment of silence, Tiankui slowly loosened his clenched fists, and the breath on his body gradually calmed down. The two people in front of me. They are sure they can handle it. But there was a powerful 8th level emperor on the chariot, and a more mysterious lord demon. It's not something they can deal with. Once you act impulsively, the consequences will be serious. So, they still had to report the situation here to the empress and the high priest before considering whether to take action next. As these words fell, Tianxi nodded on the side. There was no rebuttal at this time, and both of them stepped aside. Pass the information here back to the clan. When Tian Xie and Tian Xingjian saw this, they did not provoke these two people. Just sitting cross-legged in front of the stone door of cave mansion, alert to the surrounding disturbances. It seems like there's going to be trouble this time. Lu Ruoxian noticed this movement, appeared on the pavilion stand, and glanced at the cave mansion. He glanced at Tiankui and Tianxi who were not far away, and then landed next to Xiao Chen, Liang Bing and others. The other party's emperor's son and daughter died. Not only is it related to the sudden change in cave mansion, but it may also be related to the colorful smoke and colorful butterflies. Now look at this situation. The two elders of the sky-swallowing python clan may be swaying people again. When the strongest emperors of the sky-swallowing python clan arrive, a slight mistake may turn into a bloody battle. Don't worry too much. I just asked Tian Xingjian to summon all the great emperors and elders in the name of the Great Wilderness Sect. Even if another powerful emperor from the sky-swallowing python clan comes, our lineup can completely handle it. When Lu Ruoxian finished speaking, Patriarch Dawang suddenly spoke back. This period of time, with the great help of Xiao Chen, various resources are constantly provided. His cultivation has returned to the second level of the emperor. Although compared to Tian Xie, Liang Bing and others, their combat power is still slightly inferior. But at least it can play some role. You won't be able to just stare from the sidelines like before. Certainly, his biggest role now, that is, being able to cooperate with Tian Xingjian in the name of the ancestor and command other emperor-level experts in the Great Wilderness Sect. Many high-level officials from the Great Desolation Sect joined in, plus several strong men on their side. Even the top leaders of the sky-swallowing python clan mobilized collectively. They may not be unable to fight. Well, I hope so. Lu Ruoxian nodded when he heard this. But there was still a hint of worry between his eyebrows, and he was looking at the world with a solemn expression. Don't know why. The uneasiness in her heart became more and more intense. Just like back then, the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone was coming to the 100 Beasts mountain range. Fourth, do you think that woman in black clothes looks familiar? When Lu Ruoxian appeared on the chariot stand, Tian Kui frowned and asked Tian Shi. This figure. It gave him a familiar feeling. But for a while he couldn't remember where he had seen it, which made him feel depressed and curious. It looks a bit familiar. Tianxi glanced over after hearing this, and his brows wrinkled slightly at this time. And Lu Ruoxian on the chariot. After feeling the two people's gazes glance over her, she couldn't help but frown, and her figure immediately disappeared. It does feel very familiar. Who is she? Seeing Lu Ruoxian disappear, Tian Kui and Tian Shi looked increasingly confused. They had no real contact with Lu Ruoxian before. I've only seen this figure from portraits. However, it took a long time, and the two of them were in an irritable mood at this time, so they really couldn't remember it for a while. Don't worry about her yet. The High Priest, the High Elder, and the Second Elder are all coming towards the 100 Beasts mountain range. Next, let's think about how to deal with it. After thinking for a while and not remembering who Lu Ruoxian was, Tian Kui waved his hand and said in a deep voice. Mu Yan is a descendant of the great elder Mu Wei, and Nilin is a descendant of the second elder Nihan. Both of them have a good status in their minds, but now they have fallen together in the 100 Beasts mountain range, still under the care of their two elders. These two old guys. There will definitely be a huge amount of anger building up in his heart, and he might even vent it on both of them. They need to think about their words first. When this thought falls, Tiankui and Tianxi both sat cross-legged in silence with gloomy faces, and a heavy atmosphere filled the world outside Cave Mansion. Under the influence of my sister-in-law, classmate Medusa said she wanted to give me a surprise. After I went back to the room to dress up for 2.5 hours, I was stunned when I came out. What kind of look is this? A quarter of an hour later, Xiao Chen opened his eyes, raised his head and saw Lu Ruoxian's beautiful figure. Husband, how is the situation? Seeing Xiao Chen wake up, Lu Ruoxian asked softly. Although he knew that Xiao Chen would take action, there would definitely be no surprises. However, she is still a little curious about what happened in Cave Mansion. Things are fine. The previous empress of the sky-swallowing python clan wanted to seize Kai Yan and kill Kai Dai, but now I have completely eliminated her. Kai Yan and Kai Dai are refining each other's remaining blood essence in the soul-refining cauldron of Dawang. You shouldn't be able to get out of seclusion until 10 days and a half. Xiao Chen smiled lightly when he heard this. A slight wave of his right hand. Dawang's soul-refining cauldron appeared in the pavilion, and the runes around it kept flashing. At this time, the Dawang soul-refining cauldron seemed to be only 1 foot tall. But the interior space has its own grotto heaven, like a small grotto heaven paradise. Colorful smoke and colorful butterflies are soaked in a pool of blood, constantly absorbing the essence contained in the blood pool, and their cultivation aura is also rising steadily during refining. This pool of blood, originally, Kai Yan and Kai Dai could not be refined within a few months. But with the help of Dawang's soul refining cauldron, 10 days and a half should be enough. During this period of time, he cannot use the Great Wilderness soul refining cauldron to fight, but this has little effect on Xiao Chen. After all, with 100 free upgrades per month, he can mass-produce Emperor weapon at any time. My husband is indeed an amazing talent. Hearing Xiao Chen's understatement, Lu Ruoxian's face showed a hint of surprise. The last female emperor of the sky-swallowing Python clan had long heard of this female emperor's deeds before she reached the realm of emperor. This is a powerful person in the 9th level of the emperor. Even if he has not reached the ultimate level of emperor, he is still a figure standing at the top of the continent. Didn't expect it now, but it ended up like this, which is really disappointing. Xiao Chen just smiled lightly when he heard this, without showing any pride on his face. In order to kill this powerful empress, he did not hesitate to use a trump card. It was not surprising that the opponent would end up like this. When his thoughts fell, Xiao Chen looked out the window. Looking at the calm outside, a look of surprise appeared on his face. Just now Tiankui and Tianxi had a violent outburst of cultivation, and he thought they would not be able to resist and take action directly. Unexpectedly, there was no fight. It seems that these two people are not stupid and arrogant people. It's time for us to leave. After taking a look outside, Xiao Chen suddenly spoke. An instruction came to the ears of Tian Xie, Tian Xingjian and others. Now that the opportunity of Empress Lingyao's cave mansion has been obtained, they no longer need to stay in the 100 Beasts mountain range. After all, this is the place where Lu Ruoxian and the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone once fought to the death. If they meet people from the Night Demon clan, there may be even greater troubles next. Lord Demon Lord, let us go. After hearing Xiao Chen's voice transmission, Tian Xie and Tian Xingjian raised their heads in surprise. Their expressions couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. It has only been less than half an hour since entering the cave mansion, and the exploration has already been completed. Although the two of them were surprised, they didn't say anything. After looking at each other, they swayed slightly and returned to the chariot. The two-headed demon dragon puppet let out a roar and immediately dragged the chariot palace towards the sky. This scene, both Tiankui and Tianxi were stunned. 84%. Chapter 406. Do you think you are the law enforcer of Kanglan Realm? What's the situation? Seeing the two-headed demon dragon puppet rushing towards the sky, Tiankui and Tianxi were stunned for a moment. His expression changed drastically in an instant. Their emperor's son and daughter died in the cave mansion, and the pair of demon lords' wives did not see them leave the cave mansion. This group of people was about to leave. Obviously. There is definitely something fishy here. Can't let them leave. Almost as soon as the thought emerged, Tian Kui couldn't help shouting, and his body turned into a stream of light and rose into the sky. The cultivation level of the Emperor's 7th level suddenly exploded, and the 9-colored flames spurted out crazily. The tongues of fire were like thousands of snakes coming out of their caves, sealing off the world for hundreds of miles almost in an instant. As Tian Kui's right hand clenched fiercely, countless tongues of fire rolled back and overturned, blasting towards the double-headed demon dragon chariot. How dare you stop me? Seeing Tian Kui's divine ability attack, Tian Xingjian and Tian Xia's expressions darkened, and both of them also exploded in cultivation at this time. Two divine abilities were unleashed, facing the tongues of fire that filled the sky. Boom! When the roar shook the heaven and the earth, the space around the chariot collapsed, and the sound was enough to shock thousands of miles around. The divine ability used by Tian Kui was exploded on the spot, but the group was also stopped by Tian Kui. Tianxi rushed forward and used divine ability to seal the void. This made Xiao Chen's eyes freeze. It looked like he couldn't leave without a fight today. Jia, what do you two mean? Want to die? Seeing Tian Kui and Tianxi blocking the front on the left and right, Tian Xie shouted in a low voice, and a sense of solemnity filled the void. You two demon lord ladies haven't come out yet. Why are you leaving in such a hurry? Tian Kui ignored Tian Xia's words and just asked in a low voice. If those two women had fallen into the cave mansion, those people would have blasted the cave mansion away instead of leaving directly like they did now. There are only two possibilities for such abnormal behavior. One is that the so-called Lord Demon doesn't care about his wife's life or death at all. After sensing that both of them had died in the cave mansion, they felt a little bored and wanted to leave. The other one is, the two women had left the cave mansion without their knowledge, and had even obtained the opportunity and inheritance in the cave mansion. That's why this group of people are eager to leave, because they are afraid that they will cause trouble if they are noticed. These two possibilities. Undoubtedly the latter is more likely. Why do I need to explain to you what I do? Have you ever thought about the consequences of your obstruction like this? After Tiankui finished speaking, Xiao Chen walked outside the pavilion, looked at the two of them and said in a deep voice. This made Tiankui and Tianxi's expressions darken, and they both felt a terrible sense of oppression. But if Xiao Chen and others were allowed to leave, they would not be able to explain to the high priest. The emperor's son and daughter of our clan died in an unknown manner, and the inheritance in the cave mansion has not yet been determined. Please stay for some time again. After we find out what's going on inside the cave mansion, it's not too late for you to leave. After Xiao Chen finished speaking, Tiankui said bravely. However, before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Tian Xie with a sneer. Jia, let all of us stay until you find out the situation before we can leave. Do you think you are the law enforcer of Kanglan realm? The words fell. The atmosphere became more tense. Tian Xie, Tian Xingzhan and others all had cold expressions on their faces, showing no intention of compromising at all. Then there's no need to talk about this matter. Tian Kui's face turned cold, his fists clenched suddenly, and he made a decision at this time. Do it. Hold until the high priest and the others arrive. The next moment, Tian Kui yelled at Tian Shi and formed a mysterious seal with his hands. 9 colored fire pillars continued to rise into the sky, and there were even flame patterns spreading in the void. After Tianxi heard this, he didn't hesitate at all and also burst into cultivation to form a seal. Cooperating with Tian Kui, he condensed a terrifying flame formation in the void. Tongues of fire continued to spurt down, turning the void into a sea of fire. With that kind of power, even a strong man at the 8th level of the Emperor's realm would change his expression drastically when he saw it. Seeing the shock on my face, Medusa-san smiled evilly and said, "Don't I like speedy Saiyans? Next, I will try the power of speeding up with Medusa." I kill, Xiao Chen said indifferently. He didn't want to make the matter a big deal, but if these two people dared not to let go, then don't blame him for killing them. Boom. After Xiao Chen's words were spoken, Tian Xie, Tian Xingzhan and others standing on the two-headed demon dragon puppet all exploded in their cultivation and used divine ability killer moves, bombarding towards the 9-color flame cage. With the explosion of the collision, the roar shook the heaven and the earth. The vast void continues to collapse under the impact. What's the situation? There's a battle at the Imperial Monarch level. When the battle broke out among the group of people, Yahu, the 5th elder in the dark restricted area, had just entered the 100 Beasts mountain range. Looking at the terrifying storm impact thousands of miles away, his pupils couldn't help but shrink, and his figure stagnated in the void. Because in his perception, there were 3 auras in front of him, and his cultivation had reached the 7th level of the Emperor. Is it possible? In this ruined mountain range of beasts, what shocking opportunity suddenly appeared? This time, maybe there will be an amazing harvest. After the thought falls, Yahu took a deep breath, and his body became extremely dark at this moment, as if he wanted to merge with the night. It turned into a shadow. This is the bloodline talent of the Night Demon clan, Shadow Night Walk. It can dematerialize the body and completely blend into the darkness, thereby perfectly hiding itself. Although it is not dark at this time, but he can also merge into the shadow of the earth, making himself a perfect integrated union between heaven and earth. Not to mention a strong person of the same level, even the 8th level of the Emperor, or even the 9th level of the Emperor. It's also hard to see through his concealment. If they want to assassinate someone, even the Emperor-level experts will be unable to guard against it. This is the terror of the Night Demon clan. As Yahu approached cautiously, the fighting in the void also became white-hot. Without Zhongli taking action, even if they gather the attacks of Tian Xingzhan, Dawang Patriarch, Tian Xie, Liang Bing, and Wang Defa, these 5 Emperor-level experts. This void formation still couldn't be broken, and the group even tended to fall into a disadvantage. After all, 5 great emperors are strong. 3 of them are not in peak condition, and the one who has recovered the highest level of cultivation currently is only at the 4th level of the Emperor. Opposite them were 2 powerful men of the 7th level of the Emperor, and they were also top experts of the sky-swallowing Python clan. It was not easy to defeat these 2 people. Husband, let me take action too. Otherwise, we will be dragged to death here. Seeing the battle in the void becoming more and more intense, Lu Ruoxian hesitated for a moment and then spoke softly to Xiao Chen. Well, let's make a quick decision. Even if we really attract that guy, let's deal with it all this time. Xiao Chen's eyes flickered when he heard this, and he said after a moment of silence. Let Lu Ruoxian take action. Even though there is a risk of exposure, it is better than being dragged to death here. Even if Lu Ruoxian's identity is really exposed. With the cards he has now, it's not impossible to handle it. Maybe we can use this opportunity to make the Dark Forbidden Zone pay the price. It can even make him powerful in the Eastern Domain, making many forces afraid of him. 84%. Chapter 407. Delay them for half a quarter of an hour until my true form arrives. Wang Defa, you are paddling, right? You keep paddling. After this battle, you will see if I can do it or not. You will be finished. While Xiao Chen was talking to Lu Ruoxian, Tian Xie was punched down by Tian Kui, and he immediately yelled at this young man. His grandmas. They were attacking like crazy, trying to blast this formation as quickly as possible. But Wang Defa, a veteran, kept on defending. This was a glimpse. It just made Tian Xie so angry. If it weren't for the 3 ounces of flesh missing from his body, he would have to let this old guy know what offensive and defensive means. Wang Defa's expression changed after hearing this, and he immediately shouted loudly and burst out in cultivation, charging towards the formation in a desperate manner. But the next moment, accompanied by the roaring explosion, Wang Defa's whole body was blasted back, and a large mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. Live for you, die for you. Today, I am willing to sacrifice my life and blood for the Demon Lord. Even if I die, I will have no regrets. While his body was being blown away, Wang Defa did not forget to show off that sad voice. Those who didn't know better thought that this was a loyal and courageous old servant who would sacrifice everything for his master's safety. This made Xiao Chen's mouth twitch slightly. Also at this time, Lu Ruoxian stepped forward and appeared in the void, and a terrifying imperial power swept the world instantly. Although her cultivation at this time was only at the 4th level of the Emperor. But that sense of oppression, it is much stronger than Wang Defa and Tian Xie. Among the same level, Lu Ruoxian's combat power is definitely the best, and he can even fight beyond the level in the Emperor realm. With the explosion of Wanliu's true energy, a terrifying willow tree shadow appeared behind Lu Ruoxian. Willow sticks hung down one by one, waving out like chains of order, and flew towards Tiankui and Tianxi. Wanliu Law Manifestation. You are Lu Shen. Seeing this terrifying willow tree law manifestation, Tian Kui and Tian Zai's pupils shrank sharply, and they recognized Lu Ruoxian at this moment. No wonder there was a familiar feeling before, it turned out to be the original overlord of the 100 Beasts mountain range. A strong man who can cultivate at the 8th level of the Emperor and explode with combat power comparable to the 9th level of the Emperor, and even severely damage the Lord of Darkness. The other party's reputation. It's louder than some powerful people in the 9th level of the Emperor. Unexpectedly, after being missing for hundreds of years, this person would return to the Beast Mountain range again. Isn't she afraid that the dark restricted area will find her? For a moment, Tiankui and Tianxi were in shock, with many thoughts flashing through their minds. But it was too late for the two of them to continue thinking deeply. Because after Lu Ruoxian took action, Tian Xingjian, Dawang Patriarch and others all fought back crazily. Various divine abilities were displayed, and the Emperor weapon was even sacrificed. That kind of terrifying power made the two people's expressions change. Hold it. Amidst the roars, Tiankui and Tianxi also sacrificed the Emperor weapon, pouring real energy into it to display divine ability. Cooperating with the surrounding formations, they blasted towards Lu Ruoxian and others. Although the two of them have some advantages in terms of strength, the other party has 6 emperors. Even if the individual strength is not as good as the two of them, it is extremely terrifying when they join forces at this time. Boom. The next moment, along with the collision of divine ability, a roar shook the world. Tiankui and Tianxi could originally suppress the formation of Tian Xingjian and his party. At this moment, it also exploded like a bubble, and the devastating impact turned into a storm and swept away. During the impact, Tiankui and Tianxi both spurted out a mouthful of blood and rolled back. He looked at this group of people with some horror. Originally, a strong man at the 7th level of the Emperor realm could suppress several low-level emperors. Not to mention, they are still some weak ones who are in the 3rd or 4th level of the Emperor. But among the guys in front of me, except for Tian Xingjian and that bad old man, the combat power of the other guys was extremely terrifying. Almost every one of them can leapfrog the next level, which is simply unreasonable. Is it possible that besides Lu Ruoxian, a few others were also peak experts? That's Lu Ruoxian. When Tiankui and Tianxi were blown away, Yahu, who had just approached 100 miles away, saw the law manifestation of the 10,000 willows. My mind was also horrified by it. The whole person almost jumped out of the shadows. Originally, he was just guessing, but he didn't expect that Lu Ruoxian, whom they had been searching for several days, was actually hiding deep in the 100 Beasts mountain range. This trick is so awesome to play under the light. Unfortunately, this time he saw through it, and the other party would have nothing to hide from. The Lord Demon must be notified as soon as possible. While his heart was shaking, Yahu took out a magic bead from his body, and a message was instantly transmitted. Not only Yi Lan, who was in the dark restricted area, was notified, but also several other elders nearby. This time, no matter what tricks this Lu Shen has, there is no way he can escape like last time. When the thought fell, Yahu didn't say anything. Instead, he became more cautious and continued to approach the center of the battlefield. Just when I was about to suffer, my sister-in-law came in with a different hairstyle and said that she was a super white Medusa and wanted to challenge me as a scumbag. I felt like I was going crazy. I don't want to be an enemy of your sky-swallowing python clan, but if you two persist in your stubbornness, I won't mind killing you. As Yahu got closer and closer, Xiao Chen looked at the two people who were blown away and warned again in a low voice. The two were powerful men at the 7th level of the Emperor, and they were also heterogeneous 9-color sky-swallowing pythons. Unless he and Zhongli take action, Lu Ruoxian and others can defeat these two people. But I want to kill these two people in a short time. This is absolutely impossible. After Xiao Chen said these words, Tiankui and Tianxi were frozen in midair, with a look of struggle on their faces. With the background and strength of the two of them, it is indeed impossible to keep Xiao Chen and others. If you continue to fight, they will probably pay a heavy price for this. It is even possible to perish. In order to find out how Mu Yan and Nilin died, it is very unwise to put yourself in a life and death crisis. When the thought falls, Tiankui and Tianxi both slowly calmed down and looked at Xiao Chen and his group with solemn eyes. Let's go. It is our failure to not be able to keep you. It's just the inheritance of Empress Ling Yao, and the fall of Mu Yan and Nilin. Once the Empress and the High Priest investigate, there's nothing we can do to excuse you. After a moment of silence, Tiankui said hoarsely. Withdraw. Xiao Chen glanced at the two of them when he heard this, waved to Xingjian and others and said. The two-headed demon dragon puppet let out a roar, then pulled the chariot and palace and rushed into the distance. What the hell? No more fighting. Yahu was hiding in the shadow of the earth. When he saw the fighting suddenly stopped in the sky, Xiao Chen and his party were about to leave. He was also a little anxious in his confusion. Lord Demon Lord, that plant spirit is going to run away. With an anxious look on his face, Yahu summoned him again. Delay them for half a quarter of an hour until my true form arrives. Almost as soon as Yahu's message came out, a voice came out of the magic bead, and then it turned into a stream of light and burst out. A burst of light shone across the sky and earth. Some dark and ominous power originally remained in the depths of the 100 Beasts mountains. At this moment, it seemed as if it was being pulled, turning into black smoke that kept rising into the sky. 84%. Chapter 408. Let's completely resolve the grudges that occurred more than 300 years ago today. What's the situation? Just when the double-headed magic dragon's chariot was twisting the space, it was about to be teleported back to the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce in Fantasy Heart City. This sudden situation, the expressions of Tian Xingjian, Tian Xie and others changed, thinking that Tian Kui and Tian Shi were desperate again. But the next moment, the pupils of several people shrank sharply, and their expressions changed again. No, this is the power of darkness. Seeing the dark aura rising into the sky in front of them, making the whole world instantly dim, the expressions of Tian Xie and Tian Xingjian became solemn. Such a terrifying and pure dark aura seems to be found only in the Night Demon clan. Nearby, there is a strong man from the Night Demon clan. The power of darkness really attracted these guys. Looking at the black smoke rising into the sky around him, Xiao Chen had a chill in his eyes, and then he raised his hand to signal the dragon chariot to stop. Such movement, it should be a tough one. Husband, I will stay to stop him, you and Liang Bing and the others. When Xiao Chen's thoughts fell, Lu Ruoxian said in a low voice. But before she finished speaking, she was interrupted by Xiao Chen. What are you talking about? Although this incident is a bit unexpected, we are not incapable of dealing with it. Don't forget that your husband has a trump card in his hands. Xiao Chen comforted him with a soft voice. After saying that, Xiao Chen looked at the ground below, and his words became a bit cold and biting. Why don't you get out of this guy who hides his head and shows his tail? As this sentence fell, Xiao Chen's eyes were fixed on the ground 10 miles away, which shocked Yahu, who was hiding in the shadows. He was still in a state of hiding, but he didn't expect to be seen through by Xiao Chen all of a sudden. This guy, could it be a great emperor? Blow him out. Seeing that Yahu continued to hide, Xiao Chen immediately gave instructions to Tian Xie and others. After system upgrade, the identification function has also been upgraded. Not only can you see more basic information, but also has the ability to see shattering void delirium. Therefore, even a strong person at the 9th level of the Emperor would not be able to hide under his nose. Jia, the little mouse hid very well. After hearing Xiao Chen, Tianxi laughed and his cultivation exploded. A ray of light struck where Xiao Chen was looking. Although Tian Xingjian, Dawang ancestor and others did not speak at this time, their cultivation levels exploded. A series of divine abilities traversed the sky and the earth, directly hitting the land. Along with the roaring explosion, a deep crater was blasted out of Yahu's position, and then a pillar of black flames rose into the sky. A few great emperors are taking action together. You really think highly of me. After the word spread, a figure rose into the sky. This made Xiao Chen and others' eyes narrowed slightly. Emperor's 7th level. Feeling the fluctuation of Yahu's cultivation, Xiao Chen's mouth curved into a cruel smile. Kill him. When these words fell, Tian Xingjian, Tian Xie and the others took a step forward, shattering the void and heading towards Yahu town to kill them. Several rays of divine ability covered the world, causing Yahu's complexion to change drastically. I came here specially to help you. Why are you standing still if you don't take action now? Seeing the divine ability falling all over the sky, Yahu shouted loudly at Tiankui and Tianxi while using divine ability to resist. This made both of them sneer. This guy just wanted to get them to block the knife, and he shamelessly said he was here to help them. Did he really think that the two of them were old fools? Boom. While Tiankui and Tianxi sneered, the roar shook the world again. Yahu's divine ability was exploded on the spot by Tian Xingjian and others, and his whole body was blown away like garbage. A mouthful of black blood spurted out from his mouth. Facing an emperor at the 7th level, plus several emperors at the 4th level. Even though he is an extremely powerful being at the same level, he cannot withstand the joint suppression of these people at this time. And Yellen. But he was asked to delay for a quarter of an hour. Looking at this situation now, let alone a quarter of an hour, even a dozen breaths. Whether he can still live or not is a question. After a lot of pranks, I went out to smoke a cigarette and get some fresh air, and found a woman who was full of high-end scents. Isn't this classmate Bobo she? Is she blocking me here? Lu Ruoxian, I didn't expect that after hiding for more than 300 years, you actually returned to the 100 Beasts mountain range. Also at this time, the demon spirit bead that flew out from Yahu's hand swallowed up the dark aura remaining in the 100 Beasts mountain range. A solemn voice came out. Immediately afterwards. When everyone looked over, the monstrous dark aura condensed into a pitch-black figure, and the terrifying imperial power made the whole world tremble continuously. That kind of smell. He actually reached the 8th level of the Emperor. Although in the 8th level of the Emperor, it does not feel particularly powerful. But at this time, in terms of cultivation level, he has surpassed everyone present. Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone. Yellen, seeing this figure appear, whether it is Lu Ruoxian, Tian Xingjian and others, or Tian Kui and Tian Shi. Everyone's expressions changed dramatically. Yi Lan. The Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone. As far as they know, this guy has survived for more than 12,000 years, and his cultivation has reached its peak in the Emperor realm. With his combat power, he can definitely be ranked among the top in Eastern Domain. The reason why the opponent was severely injured by Lu Ruoxian back then was that on the one hand, this guy was careless and eager to succeed, so he temporarily neglected to bear all the attacks head-on. On the other hand, it's because Lu Ruoxian himself is an alien, and his combat power can be said to be almost invincible at the same level. His cultivation has reached the pinnacle of the 8th level of the Emperor. After dismantling his body and performing the forbidden technique, he can kill the strong men of the 9th level of the Emperor. That's why Yi Lan was able to be severely damaged in that battle. But it only made the opponent's injury a little more serious, and it was not able to cause the opponent to fall or damage the foundation of his cultivation. One can imagine how powerful this guy is. Just a clone projection, the cultivation level is so powerful. As this guy, the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone. While everyone was horrified, Xiao Chen stared at this figure, with a biting coldness flowing in his eyes. If we don't deal with this guy today, I'm afraid that all of them will have no peace in the future. The fourth level of the Emperor. Seeing that Lu Ruoxian didn't reply, Yi Lan sensed the other person's condition, and there was a touch of surprise in his voice. In just over 300 years, not only has the physical body been reshaped, but even the cultivation level has been restored to such an extent. It seems that you have been lucky enough to be around these years. Are you done talking nonsense? Before Yi Lan finished speaking, he was interrupted coldly by Xiao Chen. You hurt Ruoxian more than 300 years ago, and now you want to get her attention. You are not as courageous as a dog. After the last sentence was spoken, a cold and biting murderous intent spread from Xiao Chen's body. You guys are going to deal with that strong man from the Demon Spirit clan, and I will take care of this guy. Hear Xiao Chen's words. Lu Ruoxian, Tian Xie and others locked their eyes on Yahu, and Tian Xingjian subconsciously wanted to go straight to Yahu. But that's it, Tian Xingjian suddenly sensed. As Xiao Chen softly uttered two words, the other party's true spirit descended into his sea of consciousness. This made his pupils dilate. What's the situation? Is Xiao Chen trying to take him away? When this thought emerged, Tian Xingjian only felt that his body had lost control, and even his soul and true spirit were forcibly blocked. Immediately afterwards, when the opponent's pupils refocused, the power of desolation surged in his body. But at this time, the person who controls the body and cultivation is no longer Tian Xingjian, but Xiao Chen, an outsider. Let's completely resolve the grudges that occurred more than 300 years ago today. As these words came out, Xiao Chen raised his hand and gently grabbed it. The 5 elements Shira spear appeared in his hand, followed by a burst of white light. The 5 elements Shira spear is directly upgraded from the supreme grade to the monarch level supreme grade. A terrifying power of Emperor weapon also swept across the world. 85%. Chapter 409 How cruel. We were really lucky just now. Extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Feeling this terrifying imperial power, Yi Lan's eyes focused on Xiao Chen. To be precise, it is locked on Tian Xingjian. It's just that at this time, the other party's body is already controlled by Xiao Chen, and he can also be regarded as Xiao Chen's puppet in disguise. You only have the 7th level cultivation of the Emperor, but you have an extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Who are you? Yi Lan didn't know Tian Xingjian and asked with some confusion at this time. Extreme Dao Emperor weapon is something like this, except for some great Emperor experts. The other powerful emperors all had extravagant hopes, but they didn't expect that this guy in front of them could actually have one. You talk too much nonsense. Xiao Chen just sneered when he heard this and didn't bother to test this guy. Directly mobilize the desolate power in Tian Xingjian's body, and sink into the 5 elements Shira spear like a torrent. Next moment, as the world erupted with a tearing sound, a spear light shot across the world like a thunderous roar, and in an instant it bombarded Yi Lan. Act recklessly. Hearing Xiao Chen's words and seeing this offensive, Yi Lan's expression turned cold. Even though his clone projection only has the strength of the 8th level of the Emperor, it can only last for half a quarter of an hour at most. But it's not something that a powerful 7th level Emperor can provoke. At the same time as the cold drink came out, Yi Lan just raised his hand and grabbed the void, and endless black mist surged behind him. One was as dry as a ghost's hand, and its skin was like limestone. The arm with red hair on its wrist popped out directly from the black mist and slammed into it with the gun. All of a sudden, the roar shook the heaven and the earth. The void within a radius of 10,000 feet completely collapsed, and destructive storms continued to sweep across and wreak havoc. Both Tiankui and Tianxi, as well as Lu Ruoxian and others, were all forced back by this impact. Roll. In the madness of the impact, Yi Lan shouted coldly with a cold voice. A terrifying dark and ominous power erupted from his body, and a shocking roar came from the black mist behind him. It was as if some great terror was ready to burst out of the black mist. Get out of here. At the same moment, Xiao Chen cursed, and an ancient bronze lamp suddenly appeared above the two of them. The power of the extreme Dao Emperor weapon once again swept across the world. As the lamp flame swayed, a strange force of cause and effect fell directly on Yi Lan. Eternal Heavenly Demon Lamp. Seeing the appearance of this soul lamp and feeling this power, Yi Lan's expression changed again. This is the most precious treasure of the Heavenly Demon clan. How could it fall into the hands of this person? Could it be that the powerful emperor in front of me was taken away by some heavenly demon great emperor? In a state of panic, Yi Lan didn't have time to think deeply, so he frantically activated the power of darkness, trying to corrode the soul lamp projection above his head. But at this moment, the flame of the soul lamp above his head suddenly swelled. The soul lamp projection exploded like fireworks, and a devastating soul impact hit Yi Lan's clone projection. This caused the other party's body to twist continuously, and a furious roar came out of his mouth. No matter who you are, I will never let you go. He felt that the clone's projection was severely damaged by the impact on his soul, and the dark and ominous power in his body could not last long. Yi Lan formed a seal while roaring, and the clone's projection instantly exploded. All the dark and ominous power is integrated into the magic spirit bead. Demonic patterns spread all over the void, and then formed a cage of heaven and earth, covering Xiao Chen and his party. This formation is called Dark Night Prisoning Heaven. It was the Emperor Monarch level formation derived from the Emperor's treasure. At this time, combined with the power contained in his clone projection, it was enough to trap a powerful person in the 8th level of the Emperor for a moment and a half. As long as he can hold on until his true form arrives, he will be able to crush any strong person present with his ultimate cultivation in the Emperor realm. In the echo of the voice, the Dark Night Prison formation burst out with brilliant power, and the unknown power of darkness crazily eroded the void, making this area become like a dark night. It also completely sealed the void, cutting off anyone within the formation who wanted to tear apart the space and leave. After he caught me, he didn't care about a girl's reserve. He just pulled me into her room, changed into a pair of pajamas and asked me if I looked good. Didn't I deserve a beating? Demon Lord, seeing Yi Lan's clone projection, it was forcibly destroyed by Xiao Chen in just a dozen breaths. Yahu blocked the attack from Lu Ruoxian and others, and couldn't help but have a look of fear on his face. Seal the void with a formation. It can indeed trap Xiao Chen and his party to death here, but it can also trap him, the Elder, to death in this world. At this time, let him face several powerful people in the Great Emperor realm alone. What's the difference between this and killing him? Jia, your demon lord is not as powerful as my demon lord, so you should go to hell to repent. Seeing Yahu roaring in fear, Tianxi couldn't help but let out a harsh and ferocious laugh, and the divine ability capsized towards Yahu again. Lu Ruoxian and Ancestor Dawang, as well as Liang Bing and Wang Defa. At this time, they didn't hold anything back. They launched attacks one by one again, bombarding Yahu wildly. If you two don't take action, you will all die later. Being suppressed by the 4 low-level emperors, Yahu looked aggrieved and frightened, and yelled at Tiankui and Tianxi again. While using the power of darkness to block the divine ability of several people, the figure even shot towards Tiankui and Tianxi. FKU, uncle, don't come here. Seeing Yahu charging towards them, Tiankui and Tianxi couldn't help shouting, and they retreated rapidly in panic. What a joke. Just now, Xiao Chen sacrificed 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons, and the combat power they unleashed stunned them all. I thought it was Tian Xingjian who was deliberately letting off steam when he was fighting with them. If it was the kind of explosion of combat power just now, combined with the 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapon, it would be able to crush them 1-on-2. So at this time, the wisest thing they can do is to be wise and protect themselves first. We can no longer have conflicts with Xiao Chen and his group. Other things can wait until the high priest and others arrive. Let's start collecting interest from you for the grudges that occurred more than 300 years ago. As the group of people chased each other in the dark prison formation, Xiao Chen's cold voice also echoed in the world. Immediately afterwards, an afterimage cut across the sky. In the destructive force, a spear light was swept out again. Directly seal the space around Yahu and blast towards the opponent's Tianling Guy. No, seeing this unmatched shot, Yahu crazily activated the power of darkness. A series of protective barriers were formed around him, and the Emperor weapon was held in his hand to block him. But the next moment, there was an explosion accompanied by a roar. Yahu's protective barrier was exploded on the spot, and even the Emperor weapon was knocked out with one blow. That kind of terrifying power, when it fell on Yahu, caused his chest to burst and blood to spurt out from his mouth. The figure fell to the ground like a cannonball. Before Yahu could take a breather, Lu Ruoxian, Tian Xie and others all used divine ability and blasted towards the ground. In Yahu's screams and begging for mercy, this wave of offensive lasted for half a moment before stopping, and Yahu was reduced to rubble. The other party couldn't figure it out until he died. This time he had a premonition that there would be an amazing harvest, so why did he send himself in? Too cruel. In less than a quarter of an hour, an emperor was killed. Just now we were really lucky. After witnessing Yahu's tragic death, Tiankui and Tianxi looked at each other with a touch of joy on their faces. Fortunately, they didn't fight Xiao Chen and others just now. Otherwise, whether they would be alive now is still a question. Just next, the whole group of people are trapped here. When the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone arrives, there will probably be another brutal fight. They must find a way to escape first. 85%. Chapter 410 Yi Lan's true form has arrived, and the war is about to begin. What just happened? When Tiankui and Tianxi were shocked, Xiao Chen's soul and spirit also returned to its original form. This made Tian Xingjian open his eyes in confusion. Hiss, I have lost 90% of my true energy and soul power. Feeling that the soul power and true energy in his body were almost exhausted, Tian Xingjian suddenly felt like he was being hollowed out, and a look of shock appeared on his face. He didn't expect it at all. Xiao Chen actually had such a means to take him away easily. Use his body and cultivation to fight. This Lord Demon Lord is too terrifying. If you come here while he is having sex in the future, wouldn't he? But not even thinking about it. This Lord Demon Lord has many confidants around him, so he should not be interested in other people's partners. All that's left is this bird egg and turtle shell. The other side. While Tian Xingjian was thinking wildly, Tian Xie, Wang Defa and others all looked up into the void. As long as the confinement of this formation is broken, they can leave this ghost place. As the thought fell, several people urged their cultivation to use divine ability to blast away the formation. But right now, Xiao Chen's voice suddenly rang out. Don't worry about this formation. You should seize the time to adjust your breathing first. There may be a fierce battle next. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, several people were slightly startled and looked towards the chariot and pavilion. Lord Demon Lord, if we don't break the formation and leave, are we going to stay here and fight to the death? After realizing something, Wang Defa asked with a trembling voice, a look of panic on his face. Dark restricted area. This is a terrifying force comparable to that of the ancient lord and the true dragon race. It is said that it is deep in the restricted area. There is also a taboo existence that has already half-stepped into the divine realm and is more terrifying than Yi Lan. It's okay to mess with the dark forbidden zone, but now we have to stay and fight bloody battles. With just the few emperors on their side, once Yi Lan leads many elders to come, what is the difference between this and seeking death? Jia, you old boy was just paddling, but now you dare to doubt the Lord Demon Lord's decision. As soon as Wang Defa finished speaking, Tian Xie slapped him on the forehead. When the former raised his head with an aggrieved look on his face, Tianxi said calmly, remember, as a slave, the only thing you can do is trust the Lord Demon without reservation. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of things, even your own life. Hearing Tianxi's meaningful but warning words, Wang Defa's body trembled violently, and a chill could not help but appear on his back. Old slave deserves to die. You dare to question Lord Demon Lord's intentions, and please Lord Demon, don't take offense to this old slave. Said. Wang Defa slapped him twice, which made Xiao Chen shake his head helplessly. Okay, let's take the time to adjust. Xiao Chen didn't care about this kind of thing. After saying something to Wang Defa, he looked at Lu Ruoxian and others. We'll play it by ear later. If things go bad, I will escort you away. Then give them a big gift. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Tian Xie, Dawang Patriarch and others were a little confused. They don't know. Xiao Chen had the heavenly punishment seal of destruction, so he was a little confused when he heard about it. Lu Ruoxian and Liang Bing were shocked when they heard this. If Xiao Chen really uses that trump card, the entire eastern domain will be horrified, and the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone will definitely perish here. Isn't it a bit of a fuss to use such a trump card just to kill the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone? After some boring exploration, classmate Bo Saishi asked me if I could stay away tonight. Are you kidding me? If I don't leave, will I be jumped by an immortal? I was so scared that I picked up my pants and left. They don't plan to break the formation. After seeing Tian Xie and others sitting cross-legged on the two-headed demon dragon puppet under Xiao Chen's instructions, they adjusted their breathing. Tiankui and Tianxi looked confused. These guys actually want to stay and wait for the true form of the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone to arrive. Who gave them the courage? Are we going to break the formation? Feeling shocked in his heart, Tianxi asked Tiankui. The Dark Forbidden Zone is within profound heaven, which is closer to the 100 Beasts Mountains than the Tianmeng Mountains where the sky-swallowing python clan is located. If the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone arrives first, they might get involved in a fight between the two. This is a very dangerous thing. With the strength of the two of us, we cannot break through this large formation in a short time. Not to mention, once we break the formation, we may be mistaken for the enemy by the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone. By then, we might be on the opposite side of the dark restricted area. After Tianxi finished speaking, Tiankui thought for a moment and said in a low voice, "The High Priest and the others should not arrive much later than the people in the Dark Forbidden Zone. Before we contact them, we just need to wait and see what happens." As these words fell, Tiankui and Tianxi retreated to a relatively safe position and kept their distance from Xiao Chen and his party. In order to avoid waiting for the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone to arrive, the two of them would be directly involved. As time passed, the world fell into deathly silence, and the atmosphere became more and more depressing. But this dead silence lasted for half a quarter of an hour. There was a sudden roar in the void, and the Dark Knight prison formation shook violently. Then it suddenly collapsed while trembling, turning into a huge whirlpool, hanging in the void of the 100 Beasts mountain range. A formidable and terrifying dark aura swept across the entire world like a storm. Just like 300 years ago, Yilan descended on the 100 Beasts mountains. This kind of movement made Lu Ruoxian's pupils shrink, remembering those painful memories. "I didn't expect that you didn't break the formation and escape, but stayed here to wait for me to come. You are only at the 7th level of Emperor Realm, but you are very confident in yourself." When Xiao Chen, Lu Ruoxian and others raised their heads, Yilan descended like a demon as these words echoed in the world. His eyes fell on Tianxing Fitness. That kind of terrifying and oppressive feeling like a master made Dishan Xingjian's expression uncontrollably change. He didn't even know what happened just now, which made him feel very depressed. In addition to this Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone, there are also 3 powerful emperors. Xiao Chen's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw 3 figures following Yilan out of the whirlpool. These 3 people, 1 emperor is at the 8th level, and 2 emperors are at the 7th level. Presumably, he must be a powerful emperor realm expert who was not sent to other territories by Yilan to look for Lu Ruoxian. That's it. 3 emperor late-stage experts, plus 1 great emperor expert. How do we fight this? Looking at Yilan and the other 3 elders of the demon spirit tribe in the void, Wang Defa's old face was so frightened that he turned a little pale. Even Tian Xingjian, Dawang Ancestor and others all had serious expressions on their faces. "If you have any means, just use it. Otherwise, I will have no choice but to accept this 10,000-year-old spirit of vegetation." As these 2 words fell, Yilan raised his hand and grabbed the void, and the dark and ominous power swept across the world. At this time, the surroundings turned into a terrifying dark purgatory, filled with black flames condensed by the power of darkness. This made Tiankui and Tianxi's expressions change dramatically. Change the world, the ultimate symbol of strength in the Emperor realm. The Lord of Darkness can use such a method by raising his hand. It seems that his condition has returned to its peak. Yilan ignored the horror of Tiankui and others. After sealing and replacing the world, a dark giant hand full of ominous aura grabbed Xiao Chen and his group. That kind of power, it's many times more terrifying than the previous clone projection. Even powerful emperors like Tian Xie felt unable to move at this time. One can imagine how terrifying this suppression of strength is. 85%. Chapter 411. My understanding of laws is not as good as yours, but my true energy attributes restrain you. Oh, you accepted this spirit of vegetation. How dare you say that? When Yilan used divine ability and fell down, Xiao Chen stepped out of the air with a cold face, and a crystal card fell from the void. As the words came out, the crystal card exploded. An extremely terrifying imperial power burst out from Xiao Chen. Next moment, as the chaos-purifying thunder fire soared into the sky, Xiao Chen just lightly punched the sky. The roar of dragons resounded throughout the heaven and earth. With one head burning with flames and lightning all over his body, the shadow of the ancestral dragon, like the master of heaven and earth, roared and roared towards the giant hand of darkness. The ultimate emperor realm. He could feel the fluctuations in Xiao Chen's cultivation, whether it was Yilan and the emperors behind him, or Tian Kui and Tian Shi in the distance. Every pupil couldn't help but shrink. No wonder you dare to be so confident. It turns out that the other party is really powerful. The fight between the 2 great emperors is no less than a natural disaster coming to the world. Boom. When several people were shocked, the 2 divine abilities collided violently. The indescribable storm shock wave swept across the void and raged. The giant dark hand that Yilan had condensed was exploded by the bombardment of the Chaos Thunder Fire Ancestral Dragon. The chaotic pure thunder fire collided with the unknown power of darkness, erupting with a sound like lava meeting ice and snow. The unknown power of darkness was also being devoured and purified. This scene, Yilan's pupils shrank sharply, and a look of horror appeared on his face. This is the world-purifying demon fire. No, this is the world-purifying demon fire integrated with the power of the heavenly tribulation thunder and the power of the 5 elements of chaos. Feeling the aura of thunder and fire, even though Yilan had lived for more than 10,000 years, he was still so shocked that his face was distorted. The demonic fire that purifies the world originally restrains the ominous power of darkness. Now this thing also integrates the power of the 5 elements of chaos and the power of the heavenly tribulation thunder. This is simply an enhanced version of perversion. Are we going to allow races like them who practice the power of darkness to have any chance of survival? No matter who you are, you will die today. While feeling horrified in his heart, Yilan also seemed to be stimulated, and the dark and ominous power burst out even more crazily. There is a clan of demonic shadows thousands of feet high, with an ominous aura lingering all over their bodies. Like a demon god crawling out of the abyss in purgatory, a claw crushed the void and struck the head of the ancestral dragon's shadow. This time, at full strength, the chaotic thunder and fire ancestral dragon was exploded by Yilan's claw, and the chaotic thunder and fire all over the sky bloomed in the void like fireworks. Tian Xingjian, Tian Xie and others were so frightened that their expressions changed drastically and they had to break out to resist. What a terrifying strength! Is this the great emperor? After being forced back dozens of miles, Tiankui and Tianxi's faces kept twitching, and they both felt like they had narrowly escaped death. With such terrifying strength, it would be easy to kill them. They blocked Xiao Chen and his group before, but now they are still standing here. This is definitely a sign of mercy from the other party. Want to kill me? I'm afraid you're not qualified enough. Xiao Chen didn't know how shocked everyone was. When the Chaos Thunder Fire Ancestral Dragon was exploded, his cold words echoed in the world. The chaotic thunder and fire that originally dispersed continued to distort the world. Turn it into a vast starry sky filled with chaotic thunder and fire. If you want to turn this place into your home court, you have to ask me if I will agree. After seeing Xiao Chen's actions, Yilan's expression suddenly turned cold. The terrifying black flames condensed by the unknown power of darkness collided with the chaotic thunder and fire, and the whole world seemed to be divided into 2. On one side is the eerie dark world, on the other side is the scorching and gorgeous world of thunder and fire. The 2 actually fought separately during the impact, causing everyone around them to take a breath. What are you doing? I'm holding this guy back. Why don't you kill the others quickly and capture that grass and tree spirit for me? Seeing his own dark dimensional realm, he was unable to suppress the world of thunder and fire. Yelin was furious and yelled at the 3 elders. Hearing Yilan's roar, the expressions of the 3 elders changed, and their cultivation levels exploded the next moment. The figure was approaching Lu Ruoxian, Tian Xingjian and others, causing the expressions of Tian Xingjian, Dawang Patriarch and others to change dramatically. 1 emperor is at the 8th level, and 2 emperors are at the 7th level. It's not something they can resist. Go all out and block. However, at this critical moment, Tian Xie and others did not flinch. Each one of them used their divine ability with all their strength and blasted towards the 3 elders in the sky. They're finished. Tiankui and Tianxi watched this scene from a distance, with a look of pity on their faces. That demon lord does have the great emperor realm cultivation level, but once the opponent is held back by Yilan, the other people will only end up being crushed. Even among this group of people, there is also a strong man at the 8th level of the emperor who has not yet taken action, but he cannot stop the 3 elders of the dark restricted area. Once these people fell and were captured, the demon lord would be in a state of confusion. It is very likely that he will not be Yilan's opponent by then. Seeing me picking up my pants and leaving, Bo Saishi chased me out and said that she would only recognize me as the only person in this life, and she still wanted to get to know Medusa. Is this crazy? Your people are finished. Seeing the 3 elders swooping down, Yilan had a sneer on his face. He raised his hand and grabbed the void. A giant scythe, pitch black and engraved with many bloody lines, also appeared in Yilan's hand, and the terrifying imperial power swept away like a tsunami. Night Stalker Blood Scythe. Yilan spent thousands of years of hard work to create the Extreme Dao Emperor weapon. He once used this Extreme Dao Emperor weapon to kill several powerful men in the 9th level of the Emperor. At this time, the Emperor weapon is in hand. His combat power can definitely be increased by several percent. When the words fell, Yi Lan raised his hand and swung a knife. The 10,000-foot-long demonic figure stood behind him, also holding a sickle in his hand and slashing down violently, as if the whole world was split in half. That kind of destructive power sealed the space around Xiao Chen and then fell towards him. Xiao Chen just sneered when he heard this, as if he sensed something at this time, and there was no trace of panic on his face. He just raised his hand and grabbed the void, and the 5 elements Shira spear appeared in his hand. Chaos, pure thunder and fire crazily poured into it, and a tall figure whose appearance could not be seen appeared behind Xiao Chen. The spear is as heavy as a dragon and as heavy as a ton of weapons. With the terrifying power of destroying the world, he faced Yi Lan's death sickle. Boom! The next moment, accompanied by a roaring explosion, a devastating impact erupted in the sky. Although Xiao Chen's cultivation level was forcibly improved by the system, and he had the ultimate strength of the Emperor realm, he did not have the corresponding understanding of the laws. But with his attribute restraint ability, he was not at a disadvantage when facing Yi Lan, the Lord of Darkness. This made Yelan so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. He could also feel that Xiao Chen was far inferior to him in understanding the laws and using power. But just because of his attribute restraint, there was nothing he could do. We can only place our hope on the 3 elders, hoping that they can take down Lu Ruoxian and others and make Xiao Chen lose control. At the same time as Yi Lan's thoughts fell, several people below also collided with each other. There is no suspense. Tian Xingjian and others, who had just experienced a battle before, faced the 3 elders of the dark restricted area, and they were no match for them. They were all blown away in the collision, and some even spurted out a large mouthful of blood. The gap in strength at the cultivation level is not so easy to make up for. Go to hell with all these rubbish guys. After blasting Xingjian and others into the sky in one fell swoop, the 3 elders of the dark forbidden zone were unyielding and their bodies were torn apart by the aftermath of the storm and they rushed out again. The Emperor weapon in his hand burst out with brilliant power, and the divine ability attack hit several people again. Tian Xingjian and others were not given a chance to breathe at all. My life is at stake. Seeing such a terrifying divine ability killing move in front of him, Wang Defa showed a look of despair on his face. I even wanted to beg for mercy. He didn't know that Xiao Chen could resurrect other people, and he thought they would be gone after they died. But right now, suddenly, a breath swept across the double-headed demon dragon chariot behind a few people. A cold voice also echoed in the void. 85%. Chapter 412. From the moment you take one more look at her, you have already lost. Restore your cultivation after disturbing me, and all of you will die. At the same time as these words fell, a figure walked out of the void in front of Tian Xingjian and others from the collapse. The dark purple demonic energy swept through the world like a frenzy. Zhongli just raised her hand and waved at a few people, and the indescribable terrifying power also blasted towards the 3 elders of the dark restricted area. Just a momentary collision. The divine ability attack that was enough to make Tian Xingjian and others despair was blown away by Zhongli on the spot like a bubble. The 3 elders of the dark restricted area flew backwards, a mouthful of blood spurted out from their mouths, their faces full of shock and disbelief. Great Emperor, this unrivaled power is even worse than the 2 people fighting in the sky. He is also a person who has reached the ultimate level of the Emperor realm and is only one step away from breaking through to the true God realm. How can it be? She is actually the great Emperor. Far away. When Tiankui and Tianxi saw this, their pupils couldn't help but shrink violently. Before, they had sensed fluctuations in Zhongli's cultivation, only at the 8th level of the Emperor. Unexpectedly, the other party turned out to be a great Emperor. Unimaginable. If I had fought to the death with Xiao Chen and others just now, I'm afraid there wouldn't even be a hair left. Think of this. Tiankui and Tianxi felt a chill running down their backs, and their whole bodies were soaked in cold sweat. She is the demon queen of the North Territory Zhongli. When everyone was horrified, Yi Lan couldn't help but change his expression after seeing this figure. They recognized each other at a glance. More than 4,000 years ago. After his cultivation reached the ultimate level of the Emperor realm, the first way he wanted to reach the true God realm was to seduce a female great emperor to practice dual cultivation. Then in the process of dual cultivation, use taboo methods to drain the opponent's cultivation and essence. If he could integrated union the opponent's cultivation and energy, he might have a little bit of a chance of breaking through the boundaries. Even if you can't, you can also step into the divine realm with one foot. Become a demigod like the red-haired old monster deep in the dark restricted area. Unfortunately, this method of dual cultivation is extremely demanding. The true essence attributes that the opponent cultivates must match his dark and ominous power. Look across the eastern domain. Almost no empress can meet this requirement. So Yilan set her sights on Zhongli as a first-generation demon queen in the Northern Territory. The cultivation method is a kind of dark power, and it is very compatible with the unknown power of darkness. The most important is, this devil queen didn't know which muscle was wrong, but she was still a virgin after practicing to the 9th level of the emperor. The temptation for him at that time was extremely huge, so Yilan went to the Northern Territory to find Zhongli. Regrettably, this demon queen of the Northern Territory was not interested in him, and the two of them had a disagreement and even started fighting. The battle lasted all day and night. Because of his negligence, Zhongli caught him and beat him so badly that he vomited blood and had to flee back to the eastern domain in despair. Unexpectedly, after nearly 5,000 years, he would meet Zhongli again. Hasn't the other party been sealed? How did it appear here? For a moment, a shocking thought flashed through Yilan's mind, even showing a touch of greed and burning passion. With his eyesight, of course it can be seen that Zhongli is still a virgin. If he could capture Lu Ruoxian and Zhongli and suck these two women dry, he would definitely become a demigod. This is the thought. Yilan felt excited. As soon as I returned to the room, my classmate Medusa caught me and asked me if I really had to leave nothing to be honest. I was really wronged. I was forced to do this. You dare to clone yourself in the middle of a fight, are you looking down on me? Seeing Yilan glance down and watching Zhongli lose her mind for a moment, Xiao Chen's words echoed coldly. The immortal soul lamp appeared in the void and immediately erupted into a buzzing sound. An extremely strange soul wave, taking advantage of Yilan's momentary absence, descended on the other party in an instant. Not good. He felt a terrifying force of cause and effect acting on him, just like it had just fallen on his clone projection. This caused Yilan's expression to change drastically. Unexpectedly, Zhongli was so shocked when she saw him that this guy caught the flaw. However, Yilan did not sit still and waited for death, and burst into cultivation amidst the roar. The unknown power of darkness billowed into the sky like wolf smoke, and the night demon blood scythe in his hand erupted into a buzzing sound. The scythe, carrying terrifying evil soul fluctuations, hit the projection of the soul lamp that was about to condense on his head. Forcibly cut off the causal connection with the immortal soul lamp. But that's about it. Xiao Chen swung the 5 elements Shira spear and swept out. The spear's light crashed down like a giant dragon, directly setting off a tens of thousands of thunder and fire frenzy between the heaven and the earth. That kind of destructive power caused Yilan's expression to change drastically. Because at this time, he had just broken the connection with the immortal soul lamp, and was at the juncture where the old power was gone and the new power was not reborn. Although this gap is very short, it is suitable for the battle in the Great Emperor realm. Enough to become a fatal flaw. Roll. In inner shock. At this time, Yilan didn't care whether his meridians could withstand it, and forcibly reversed the dark and ominous power to erupt a black flame storm. Centered on his body, it swept out like a fan-shaped tsunami, and collided with Xiao Chen's gun. Along with the roaring sound, Yilan's pupils also shrank sharply. Because of a spear, the black flame frenzy that ripped through him with an unstoppable attitude came towards him again. From the moment you took one more look at her, you were already defeated. As Yilan's pupils shrank, Xiao Chen's words came out coldly. The 5 elements Shira spear hit the opponent's dark night demon blood scythe, and Yilan's hands instantly burst into a cloud of dark red blood mist. There was even a crisp sound of bone cracking. Unable to withstand this blow, the 5 elements Shira spear, accompanied by the night demon blood scythe, hit Yilan's chest and blasted him dozens of miles away. His chest burst and collapsed, and a large mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. But it's not over yet. When Yilan was blown away and rolled back, the immortal soul lamp buzzed again. A soul wave hit the opponent's body. This time, because Yilan was injured and unable to resist, the soul lamp projection condensed on the opponent's head. An overbearing causal connection is also bound to the other party. The soul lamp projection followed Yilan's figure and flew dozens of miles away. But during the flight, a cluster of flames ignited on the lamp head, and then it burned crazily. A terrifying soul backlash caused Yilan to roar. As the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone, how could I be defeated so easily? In a roaring roar, a demonic shadow rushed out from Yilan's body and swallowed the soul lamp projection into his mouth, forcibly sealing and suppressing the backlash of the soul lamp. But before he could finish his words, a devastating wave suddenly came from the sky, making the hairs all over his body tremble and explode. All I saw was the void. The dark dimension field he condensed continued to collapse, and the power of thunder and fire wandered like a wild dragon. Xiao Chen closed his eyes tightly in the void, as if he had an epiphany. The momentum throughout his body was rising steadily at this time. Next moment, Xiao Chen opened his eyes suddenly, and a flash of lightning flashed in his eyes. Colorful rays of light shone from his body, and the shadow of the five elements holy beast emerged behind him. Immediately afterwards, the phantom of the five elements holy beast merged into the spear. Xiao Chen raised his hand and stabbed lightly. A beam of gun light fell from the sky like a meteor, and Xiao Chen's words echoed in the world. This shot is called Star Chaser. 86%. Chapter 413. In 3 days, I will come to destroy your dark restricted area. As the last two characters fall, the gun light hit Yi Lan's body directly at an incredible speed. Amidst Yi Lan's incredible roar, the gun light penetrated through the opponent's chest. Destructive power, cutting Yi Lan's indestructible body in half. This scene made Tian Xingjian and others' pupils almost burst. You really deserve to die if you destroy my body. Yelin cut off an arm amidst the roar. Then, amid the flying of countless dark runes, the left arm turned into a dark demonic dragon, roaring and roaring towards the sky. The opponent's severed lower body actually flew back into place automatically. With the flesh buds constantly squirming, the two bodies combined in a very strange way. It's just Yelin's breath. At this moment, it plummeted by nearly 30%, which was obviously a terrible hit. Resist tenaciously. Seeing the dark dragon coming to attack, Xiao Chen just sneered with a cold expression. When Yi Lan was put at a disadvantage, the opponent was destined to lose. As a cold snort came out, a simple mirror emerged in the void, and the next moment the light directly reflected the world. A figure that looked exactly like Xiao Chen also walked out of the mirror. This is clearly the Tianyuan Divine Profound Realm. And this figure that looks the same as Xiao Chen is the mirror clone of Tianyuan Shen Xuanjing. Although he has no independent consciousness, he has a terrible fighting instinct. The strength can even reach 70% of that of the reenacted person. Unfortunately, after the mirror clone is condensed, it cannot exist in the outside world for too long, and can only stay for a quarter of an hour at most. But even so, at this time, after this mirror clone came out, it had an overwhelming effect on the entire battle situation. As the mirror clone rushed towards the dark dragon, a terrifying impact also exploded in the void. Xiao Chen ignored the fight between the two and just rushed downwards with the five elements Shira spear in hand. After tearing through the energy storm, another shot hit Yi Lan hard, causing Yi Lan to let out a desperate roar. The majestic lord of the dark forbidden zone. Because I looked at a woman one more time, I am now being tortured into a dog by the other woman. This is simply the most ridiculous thing in the world. In the roar, Yi Lan's whole body erupted with black flames, the demon blood on his body burned crazily, and a vortex suddenly collapsed in the sky. It's as if he is using himself as a medium to forcibly communicate with the depths of the dark restricted area. Please Guzu take action. After these words fell, Yi Lan formed a seal in his hand, and the vortex behind him suddenly surged. A giant bloody hand that was hundreds of feet in size, with black gold chains wrapped around its arms. In the overwhelming evil atmosphere. Then he slapped Xiao Chen. Wherever you go, the void keeps collapsing into nothingness. Whether it is the dark dimensional realm condensed by Yi Lan, or the chaotic thunder and spark sky condensed by Xiao Chen. After the bloody giant hand appeared, it continued to collapse while trembling. The owner of this bloody giant hand is the taboo of the dark restricted area and the ancient ancestor of the night demon spirit clan. His own cultivation has broken through the boundaries of the 9th level of the Emperor, and he has condensed his body and cultivation with forbidden methods. Let it possess part of the power of the true God realm. But because this power is too violent, and because I have not passed the divine tribulation of heaven and earth, I have completely entered that realm. This ancient ancestor was infected by the power of darkness and his body became unknown. Not only does his body become extremely huge, but he is also covered in red hair and loses control from time to time, causing disasters in the dark restricted area. In desperation, the ancient ancestor could only lock himself deep in the dark restricted area. He will wake up from his slumber only if something happens in the dark restricted area, or if he is summoned by the owner of the restricted area. At this time, this forbidden being sensed Yi Lan's call and took action across hundreds of millions of miles. Although no real body has arrived. At the cost of Yi Lan's burning essence and blood, he opened a space tunnel and descended an arm. But that kind of terrifying power has far exceeded that of the great emperor. If it is sensed by heaven and earth, it will even cause a catastrophe. Demigod. Seeing this terrifying giant hand, Xiao Chen's pupils shrank slightly, and his cultivation reached its peak at this moment. The 5 elements Shira spear continued to expand and hit the bloody giant hand hard. Just a momentary collision. The dimensional barrier in the void suddenly collapsed, Xiao Chen was blown away, and blood mist erupted from his arms and body. However, in a flash of white light, Xiao Chen's injuries recovered instantly. This scene. Yelan's pupils contracted violently. Obviously not expecting it, Xiao Chen recovered from his injuries so quickly after being slapped by this person. Ancestor, if this person is not eliminated, he will be a serious problem in the dark restricted area. Feeling horrified in his heart, Yi Lan yelled at the whirlpool. Trying to make the true form of this ancient ancestor come and completely obliterate Xiao Chen in the 100 Beasts mountain range. However, facing Yi Lan's roar, this ancient ancestor ignored it. After one blow failed to kill Xiao Chen, the giant bloody hand grabbed Yi Lan and forcibly pulled him into the whirlpool. As the dimensional barrier collapsed, there was a deafening roar in the world. It was as if the will of heaven and earth wanted to lock onto this ancient ancestor and send down the thunder tribulation of heaven and earth to force him away. However, as the vortex collapsed, the will of heaven and earth lost its sense. Only then did the power of heaven and earth condensed in the sky gradually dissipate. After finally finishing the trouble with classmate Medusa, I returned to the next room and suddenly saw Sister Zuner. She put her hands on her hips and said that I had neglected her and must make up for it severely. Guzu. Xiao Chen looked at the collapsing whirlpool, and his expression became extremely cold. Although this ancient clan from the dark restricted area is not a divine descendant, his strength has reached that level. Just as troublesome as Lord Divine Maiden of the Wangyu ancient clan. Seeing Yi Lan being taken away by the other party, Xiao Chen became more and more angry as he thought about it, and his eyes immediately locked downwards. This short moment, the battle below is also over. After Zhang Li's cultivation returned to the 9th level of the Emperor, the elders of the 3 great emperors in the Dark Forbidden Zone even joined forces. He was also killed by Zhang Li in a short period of time. Xiao Chen fell down, raised his hand and sucked the corpses of the 3 elders, and found a magic spirit bead from each other. It is apparently used to communicate with the altar within the dark restricted area. When Zhang Li, Lu Ruoxian and others were about to ask, Xiao Chen directly burned the remaining cultivation level on the cultivation experience card. Smelt the corpse of an elder of the demon spirit tribe and pour the opponent's demon blood into the demon spirit bead. The soul thought communicates with the altar in the dark restricted area through this magic spirit bead. At the same time, within the dark restricted area, after traveling hundreds of millions of miles to retrieve Yelan, the ancient ancestor threw the patriarch to the ground like trash. Yelan made a deep hole in the ground, and then couldn't help but spurt out a large mouthful of blood. Damn it, who is he? Such a terrifying strength, why don't I have the slightest impression? Feeling that this trauma was comparable to that of more than 300 years ago, Yi Lan had a ferocious expression on his face. And just after his words came out, some strong men in the penalty area were alarmed. The communication altar within the demon spirit clan suddenly erupted with light at this moment. Xiao Chen's cold face also appeared on the altar. The dogs in the Dark Forbidden Zone will be visited by me in 3 days and will wipe the Dark Forbidden Zone from this world. I hope you bitch still has the strength to stop me. After these 2 sentences echoed, Xiao Chen's projection also dissipated. Yi Lan was stunned for a moment and then immediately had a distorted face. Recall all the emperors and elders for me, I want to see if he dares to come. 86%. Chapter 414. We all have to say. They died in Empress Ling Yao's trap. 3 days later, come to destroy the dark restricted area. Tian Xingjian and others were all shocked when they saw Xiao Chen forcibly activating the magic spirit bead and projecting it into the dark restricted area to speak. Dark restricted area. It has been inherited from ancient times to the present. It is the place where most dark monsters gather in the eastern domain. In addition to the night demons, there are also many cruel dark monsters. Without any exaggeration, if the monsters in the dark restricted area come out in full force, they can even cause a terrifying catastrophe in profound heaven. And in the dark restricted area, There is also a taboo existence beyond the level of the great emperor, which is the owner of the bloody giant hand just now. So exists. Because I'm afraid of being forced to do transcending tribulation by the induction of heaven and earth, I can't go all out in the outside world. But if it is in a dark restricted area, if there is a way to temporarily block the induction of heaven and earth, once this kind of existence takes full action, it can even easily obliterate the powerful great emperor. Xiao Chen was knocked back by the opponent's move just now and was injured. Although with its incredible repair ability, injuries can be restored in an instant. But if the combat power is not enough, going to the dark restricted area is just looking for abuse. But now the other party dares to say such cruel words. Could it be that he has some kind of killer weapon in his hand? After Xiao Chen finished speaking, Tian Xingjian and others all started to speculate in horror. Only Lu Ruoxian, Zhang Li and others knew what was going on. Husband, is this too risky? After a moment of silence, Lu Ruoxian came closer and couldn't help but speak. If Xiao Chen's seal could really trigger divine punishment, it does have the ability to destroy the dark forbidden area. But once the scourge comes, if you don't have time to escape, you will definitely die. Don't worry, I'm absolutely sure. Xiao Chen waved his hand upon hearing this and replied calmly. The dark forbidden zone is a cancer. If it is not wiped out in one fell swoop or severely damaged, I'm afraid there will be big trouble in the future. Certainly, this is just one of the reasons. Another reason is that Xiao Chen wants to take this opportunity to become famous in the Eastern Domain and deter all major forces. If not, as he walked out of profound heaven, forces like cats and dogs stepped on him without even knowing him. This actually gave him a very unpleasant feeling. After a fair amount of compensation, Sister Zuner asked me when I would go back. She said that without Yan Lingji cheering next to her, she felt uncomfortable all over and I felt numb. The other side, although Tiankui and Tianxi were dozens of miles away, they heard Xiao Chen's harsh words. Both of them were shocked. Today, I originally just wanted to retrieve the inheritance of Empress Ling Yao, but unexpectedly, all kinds of terrifying things happened one after another. Not only did the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone appear, but even the old immortal took action. The most outrageous thing is, after that taboo being took action, not only was he unable to kill him with one move, but he was also told harshly that he wanted to destroy the whole family. They really couldn't imagine where the group of guys in front of them came from. He didn't even pay attention to the dark restricted area. Third brother, when the high priest and his companions arrive, do we still want to report truthfully? Trembling inside, Tianxi took a deep breath to calm down and asked Tiankui in a trembling voice. We must truthfully report the terror caused by this group of people. But regarding the deaths of Mu Yan and Ni Lin, although we haven't found out yet, no matter what the truth behind it is, we all have to say, they died in Empress Ling Yao's trap. After hearing Tianxi's words, Tiankui's expression changed, and he finally gritted his teeth and said these words. Not long ago, in the cave mansion of Empress Ling Yao, fluctuations in the emperor's realm broke out. Although due to the isolation of the formation, he could not clearly sense what was going on inside. But what he can be sure of is that Empress Ling Yao has revived. And Mu Yan and Ni Lin, they all died before this wave of fluctuations broke out, so there is a great possibility that these two people fell into the hands of the other two descendants of the sky-swallowing python. Originally, when the high priest, great elder and others arrived, he wanted to tell them all these speculations. But now, after seeing the horror of Xiao Chen and his group, he changed his mind. Regardless of whether this mysterious demon lord has the ability to destroy the dark restricted area, it is definitely not a wise move for the sky-swallowing python clan to completely turn against each other. No, there are some flaws in these words. After the thought falls, Tiankui glanced at the ancient tomb cave mansion below, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and his cultivation level exploded. The next moment, amidst the raging 9-color flames, a 9-color sky-swallowing python slammed into the cave mansion. The cave mansion is intact. It would be far-fetched to say that both Mu Yan and Ni Lin died at the hands of Empress Ling Yao, as it would appear that they stood by and watched. It can destroy the entire cave mansion and turn any trace inside into ashes. Even the high priest. It is also very difficult to verify. And Tiankui's sudden move made Xiao Chen and others dozens of miles away all look at him. The expressions of Tian Xingjian, Tian Xie and others became extremely vigilant. I thought it was these two guys who wanted to take advantage of the fact that they had just experienced a fight and were not at their peak strength at this time. Just prepare to take action against them. Gia, Lord Demon Lord, are we going to kill these two guys? As their eyes touched, Tian Xie also laughed strangely. This sentence, the hairs on Tiankui and Tianxi's bodies stood up in an instant. For Tian Xie, Tian Xingjian and others, they were basically not afraid. But Xiao Chen and Zhang Li, this is absolutely terrifying. Don't get me wrong, we have no ill intentions. Hearing Tian Xia's words from a distance, Tian Kui and Tian Zai's expressions changed drastically, and they hurriedly said to Xiao Chen and others. What I did was actually. Anxious in his heart, Tian Kui wanted to explain from afar. But before he finished speaking, a roar suddenly broke out in the void. The void that had just been repaired not long ago exploded like a mirror at this moment, revealing several nine-color sky-swallowing pythons that were over 1,000 feet tall. He also rushed over from the shattered void, and the imperial power swept away like a storm. This is shockingly. High Priest Ji Yuzan, Great Elder Mu Wei, and Second Elder Ni Han came from the Tianmeng Mountains. One is a strong person at the 9th level of the Emperor, and two are strong at the 8th level. They are among the strongest Emperor realm experts in the sky-swallowing Python clan, except for the Empress Mu Xuanyi. These people arrived at this moment. Who is it? How dare you kill my descendant? When everyone looked over, the words of one of the 9-color sky-swallowing pythons echoed like thunder. The person who spoke was the Great Elder Mu Wei. After learning that his descendant had been killed, he was already filled with rage. Mu Yan is the most talented among his many descendants. Originally, he wanted the other person to inherit his mantle and train him to become the pillar of the family in the future. I didn't expect to die like this now. It's you. After looking around, Mu Wei's eyes fell on Xiao Chen and his group, and his power erupted like a tsunami. Great Elder, please don't be rude. Before Mu Wei could finish his words, he was interrupted by Tian Kui shouting. Mu Yan and Ni Lin were killed by Empress Ling Yao, and that's why they both fell. It has nothing to do with their group. Just when Xiao Chen and others were about to speak coldly, Tian Kui's two words made them slightly stunned. Xiao Chen looked even weirder. He glanced at Tiankui strangely, not expecting this guy to say that. 86%. Chapter 415. And our Empress is super sexy and cool, you can really come and look for her. Not them. After hearing Tian Kui's words, Ji Yuzan, Mu Wei and others' eyes narrowed, and they glanced at Tian Kui doubtfully. Tian Kui mentioned in the previous summons that they had a conflict with a group of people. The opponent's lineup includes a strong person at the 8th level of the Emperor, and another person who is suspected of being at the 9th level of the Emperor. The three of them rushed over in a hurry. Unexpectedly, after arriving here, Tiankui suddenly changed his tune. Could it be that he was threatened by the other party? As their thoughts turned, they felt the remaining energy fluctuations between heaven and earth, and the expressions of Ji Yuzan, Mu Wei and others became more solemn. He also looked at Xiao Chen and his group. Zhang Li, the demon queen of the Northern Territory. Willow god of the 100-beast mountain range. When seeing Zhang Li and Lu Ruoxian, the high priest, who had always been well informed, recognized these two people at once, and his expression instantly became extremely solemn. These two people, one is famous in the northern domain and the other is famous in the eastern domain. Neither of them are simple figures. The key is, one of these two people was sealed and disappeared for thousands of years, and the other was severely injured and disappeared for hundreds of years. How come they appear together now? Do you want to fight? Seeing three 9-colored sky-swallowing pythons appearing in front of him, Xiao Chen raised his head expressionlessly and asked in a calm voice. The words fell. The expressions of Tiankui and Tianxi changed drastically, and they hurriedly said to Ji Yuzan and others. High Priest, please control your aura and turn into human form. Don't conflict with these people. They were all looking at the horror of Xiao Chen and his group just now. If there is a conflict with them, they will definitely suffer heavy casualties later. What exactly is going on? Sensing Tiankui and Tianxi's panic, Ji Yuzan and Mu Wei did not sing the opposite. Each one of them restrained their breath and transformed into a human form, and asked the two of them in a solemn voice. Did you see that young man in black? Not long ago, he single-handedly severely damaged the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone, and even withstood the palm of the person in the Forbidden Zone. After taking a deep breath, Tiankui spoke. These two sentences. There was a roar in Ji Yuzan, Mu Wei and others' minds, and they looked at Xiao Chen with expressions of horror and disbelief. The Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone. Even if they encounter their Empress Mu Xuanyi, she is not sure of defeating her. Unexpectedly, he was hit hard by the young man in black in front of him. Then Mu Yan and Ni Lin, how did they die? After taking a deep breath, Mu Wei asked in a deep voice. Although Xiao Chen, Zhong Li and others are very powerful, their sky-swallowing python clan is not someone to be trifled with. If they were the sons and daughters of their own emperor, they would all die tragically at the hands of the other party. They must seek justice no matter what they say. Empress Lingyao has not died, and there is still a trace of her soul alive. She left this ancient tomb, cave mansion, in order to lure the descendants of the sky-swallowing python clan, so that they could seize the body and smelt the blood of the original body to be resurrected. When we noticed this, we wanted to blow up the cave mansion to save Mu Yan and Ni Lin. But by then it was already a step too late. Both of them died one after another. And after Empress Lingyao killed Mu Yan and Ni Lin, she also wanted to smelt the other two descendants of the sky-swallowing python. However, those two people were saved by this group of people, and the remaining soul of Empress Lingyao was also forcibly wiped out by them. Hear Mawei's words. Tian Kui's expression remained unchanged. After taking a deep breath, he made up a story. That heavy and unwilling look, as if what happened before was what he said. Even Tianxi's eyelids couldn't help but twitch wildly. This kind of ability to tell lies with open eyes, even his old friend did not expect. From now on, I can only believe 3 points of what this guy says. Then why are they fighting with the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone? After Tiankui finished speaking, Mu Wei and others were dubious and couldn't help but ask. The noise of our previous battle was too great. It just so happened that the fifth elder of the Dark Forbidden Zone, Yahu, was nearby. It just so happened that the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone was searching for Lu Shen again. That's why there was a big fight. What we didn't expect was that this battle actually ended with the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone being defeated and escaping. The mysterious Great Emperor even said, "We will come to destroy the Dark Restricted Area in 3 days." Tiankui told what had just happened in a few words. Of course, he had changed part of it, but his expression was still full of shock. It's completely impossible to tell that it's just fabrication. These words also made Ji Yuzan, Mu Wei and others shrink their pupils, with a look of disbelief on their faces. 3 days later. Come to destroy the Dark Forbidden Zone. In shock, Ji Yuzan and Mu Wei looked at Xiao Chen and his group, their eyes full of fear and solemnity. The one who dared to say such a thing was also a great emperor. He must have some kind of terrifying trump card in his hand. After comforting Sister Zuner, I was lying in the hotel room watching Peppa Pig. Unexpectedly, an investigator barged in. When I looked up, I was dumbfounded. Isn't this senior Sister Bibi Dong? Let's go. Looking at Ji Yuzan, Tian Kui and others, who were startled there, they no longer had the tendency to take action. Xiao Chen said calmly, and the group prepared to leave the 100 Beasts mountain range. 3 days later, he wanted to go to the dark restricted area alone, and he had to make some preparations before doing so. They're leaving. Seeing Xiao Chen and his party preparing to leave, Mawei couldn't help but shout. Even if the deaths of Mu Yan and Ni Lin had nothing to do with this group of people. But the inheritance of Empress Lingyao is still with the other party. A few of you stay. After Xiao Chen and others boarded the double-headed dragon chariot, Ji Yuzan stepped out in front of Xiao Chen and others. This made Xiao Chen frown slightly, and also made Tian Xie and others turn around. Jia, do you want to fight? Tian Xie looked at Ji Yuzan with a stern look. Although the other person was a strong man at the 9th level of the emperor, he felt an indescribable sense of oppression. But above him are Xiao Chen, the demon lord, and Zhong Li, the demon queen. He speaks with such confidence. Misunderstood. Ji Yuzan shook his head when he heard this. He didn't care about Tian Xie's words, he just looked at Xiao Chen and said. Although Empress Lingyao rebelled against the heaven-swallowing python clan in Tianmeng Mountain, she is after all the last empress of the heaven-swallowing python clan. Her heritage holds a decisive position for our clan. As he said that, seeing Xiao Chen frown, Ji Yuzan quickly added. Of course, our group is not trying to rob Wu Ming, but we want to make a deal with you to see if we can exchange some emperor-level treasures for the inheritance left by Empress Lingyao. Among the inheritance of Empress Lingyao, there are the bloodline inheritance skills of the sky-swallowing python, and some more important divine abilities. For the sky-swallowing python clan, these are the foundations that can be used to train their descendants. If it can be exchanged for some emperor-level heavenly materials and earthly treasures, it will definitely be a good deal for the sky-swallowing python clan. No need, I have no shortage of natural resources and treasures now. Xiao Chen waved his hand when he heard this and refused without thinking. The inheritance of Empress Lingyao was integrated union by Kai Yan and Kai Dai. How could he hand it over again? This is a pity. Ji Yuzhan's eyes flickered when he heard this. He paused for a moment and then said, I heard the elders of my tribe mentioned. Both of your ladies have the bloodline of the 9-color sky-swallowing python. I wonder if I can take the liberty to find out which ethnic group they are from. No comment. After Ji Yuzhan finished speaking, Xiao Chen looked indifferent again. Then he gave instructions to the two-headed dragon, and the surrounding space was distorted. Your Excellency, our Empress wants to see you and your 2 wives. Please come to the Tianmeng Mountains when you have time. There may be some connection between the two. And our Empress is super sexy and cool. You can really come and look for her. Seeing Xiao Chen was about to leave, Ji Yuzhan hurriedly spoke again. These 2 sentences shocked Mu Wei, Tian Kui and others. They obviously did not expect that the always rigid high priest would say such inappropriate words. If Mu Xuanyi heard this, she would not go on a rampage and beat the old man up. 86%. Chapter 416. As long as all the tribesmen can work together, how can I find a husband for the Empress? After destroying the Dark Forbidden Zone, he will take the time to come to the Tianmeng Mountains. It seems that this person is fully confident. Seeing the 2-headed demon dragon tearing apart the space and leaving, Ji Yuzhan murmured a word and revealed a flash of light. High Priest, are you trying to win over this group of people? In Ji Yuzhan's murmur, Mu Wei also understood something and said in a low voice. The deaths of Mu Yan and Ni Lin are not clear yet. Even if they died because of Empress Ling Yao, it might be related to this group of people. In addition, the origin of this group of people is unknown, so we invite each other like this, right? How? Are you suspecting that Tiankui and Tianxi are working together to deceive us, or are you absolutely sure that you can keep this group of people? Before Mu Wei finished speaking, Ji Yuzhan asked in a faint voice, immediately leaving the other party speechless. So you sold the Empress? After a moment of silence, Mu Wei's expression changed, and he couldn't help but ask another question. Empress Mu Xuanyi. They all have a sacred status in their hearts. If what Ji Yuzhan said just now was said by an outsider, he would probably have killed people long ago. Empress. It can be said that I watched her grow up. She is now 7,684 years old, and it has been more than 4,000 years since her cultivation reached the 9th level of the Emperor. But she has been in office for so long and has never had the idea of being together. She doesn't like any of you. If this continues, how will the bloodline of the Empress be passed on? Hearing Mu Wei's words, Ji Yuzhan's face darkened and he spoke in a low voice. These words, Mu Wei, Tian Kui and others' expressions froze, and they all lowered their heads with evasive eyes. Several of them were present. Everyone admired or loved Empress Mu Xuanyi, but none of them could make the other like her. Mu Xuanyi's criteria for choosing a spouse are also very simple. First, he is stronger than her. Second, she can see right. None of them could even meet the first condition, let alone get Mu Xuanyi to look at her. As long as the mortal tribe can live up to their expectations and find someone who can impress the Empress, how about I look for a husband for the Empress? Seeing Mu Wei and others speechless, Ji Yuzhan snorted angrily at this moment. Besides, what I just said must not reach the ears of the Empress. Otherwise, if the Empress comes to beat up this old man like me, I will have no choice but to take out my anger on you. After saying these words, the expressions of Mu Wei and others changed. They knew the terror of this high priest. Her combat power is second only to that of the Empress Mu Xuanyi. If you really offend the other party, if you are beaten by the other party, it will be like to lie down for a while. Go back and keep an eye on the dark restricted area these days. You must not miss any information. As for the matter of Mu Yan and Ni Lin, let's use Tiankui's words to report to the Empress and set up a memorial tablet for them in the ancestral temple. Finished. Ji Yuzhan glanced at Tiankui and Tianxi with deep meaning. He seemed to have noticed something at this moment, but the other party did not explain it directly. This made Tiankui and Tianxi's expressions tremble, and a chill could not help but flow down their backs. And Mu Wei and Ni Han. The two of them were still a little suspicious at this time, but they didn't say anything after their expressions changed a few times. We can only wait and see what Xiao Chen will do 3 days later. If Xiao Chen could really destroy the Dark Forbidden Zone, then today's events would end like this. But if the other party is just bluffing, they had to investigate the many doubts today. With several people having different thoughts, the group also left this place and returned to the Tianmeng Mountains. Seeing my confused face, Senior Sister Bibi Dong said that she had changed her job and would work on land from now on. The new official took office today and she must use me to judge her performance. This is too cruel. The other side. With a roar erupting in the void, the double-headed demon dragon chariot also returned to Fantasy Heart City, and then descended on the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce Square. Such an astonishing movement immediately shocked the entire Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce, causing Duan Muzuying, Lu Yanfei and others to come out one after another. My husband is finally back. Duan Muzuying and others showed joy when they saw the double-headed magic dragon chariot. A few days ago, when Xiao Chen was about to leave, he was thinking that there would be a big fight on this trip. The group of them did not follow and cause any trouble. Seeing the group of people returning safely, I could finally let go. Master Xiao is finally back. Nothing major happened, right? After Xiao Chen comforted Duan Muzuying and others, concubine Lu Yan asked with a smile. Some days ago, Xiao Chen just told her that she had something urgent to deal with and asked her to help look after Duan Muzuying and others. He left in a hurry. Now that the other party has returned, she is a little curious as to what happened. No big deal. I just went to the 100 Beasts mountain range and killed an elder in the dark restricted area. Xiao Chen smiled lightly when he heard this and explained casually. But concubine Lu Yan and others' pupils shrank, with a look of shock on their faces. No doubt, with the strength of Xiao Chen and others, the one who can be talked about by the other party must be the elders of the Emperor realm. I don't know which emperor in the dark restricted area actually let this young master be killed. By the way, I left in a bit of a hurry earlier, so I forgot about it. With that said, Xiao Chen took out a Na ring and handed it to concubine Lu Yan. There are 20 emperor-level treasures here. I would like to ask you, Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce, to help me auction them and exchange them for spiritual crystals. When this batch is processed, I will give you another batch. Wah! What? There are 20 emperor-level treasures in here. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, concubine Lu Yan was stunned for a moment, then raised her head in disbelief. I thought I heard it wrong. Emperor-level treasures are rare in the Eastern Domain. Unless this thing is really useless to you, even the ancient clan forces will not easily put it up for auction. Is this young man really bragging? Shocked in my heart, concubine Lu Yan's soul penetrated into the ring and looked at the 20 treasures of heaven and earth filled with terrifying energy fluctuations. Even though she had already seen the world, she still felt suffocated at this moment. There are really 20 emperor-level treasures, including emperor weapon spirit medicine. The quality of some is even very high, reaching monarch level. Which ancient clan force did this young master have to bloodbath to be able to produce so many treasures in one go? By the way, besides that, please send someone to help me keep an eye on the movements of the Dark Forbidden Zone in the past few days to see if the powerful emperors they sent have returned to the Dark Forbidden Zone. When concubine Lu Yan was shocked, Xiao Chen added calmly. This made concubine Lu Yan raise her head in confusion. Then, as if he thought of something, he spoke in a scary voice. Young master, shouldn't you be trying to hunt down the emperor-level elders in the dark restricted area? The Dark Forbidden Zone has always threatened the Eastern Domain with assassinations and hunting. Unexpectedly, it has now been targeted by a strong human race. This is a bit funny. But if you hunt the elders in the dark restricted area and completely anger the strong men in the dark restricted area, it will be extremely terrifying if the opponents come out in full force. Although Xiao Chen and his team are quite powerful, in her opinion, they are still far from being able to compete with the Dark Forbidden Zone. No, Xiao Chen shook his head when he heard this and explained the reason directly. 3 days later, I will go to destroy the Dark Restricted Area, so I must have enough intelligence. Boom. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, concubine Lu Yan and others felt like there was a roar in their minds. Everyone froze in place. Destroying the Dark Forbidden Zone, is this true or false? This is a terrifying strength comparable to that of an ancient family. How can one person destroy them just by saying they want to? As concubine Lu Yan's pupils contracted violently, there was only one thought left in her mind. That's, Xiao Chen is crazy. Otherwise, it would be impossible to say such ridiculous things. 86%. Chapter 417. This woman, could she be suffering from paranoia? Ignoring the shock of concubine Lu Yan and others. After a brief explanation, Xiao Chen returned to the room with Lu Ruoxian and others. 3 days later, I will go to the dark restricted area with Zhang Li. I will ask you to take care of Kai Yan and Kai Dai. After entering the room, Xiao Chen didn't hesitate. Seeing that Lu Ruoxian, Liang Bing and others were hesitant to speak, he went straight to the point. Finished. Xiao Chen raised his hand slightly, and the smaller version of Dawang's soul refining cauldron also landed in this wing. And inside the interior space, Kai Yan and Kai Dai are still greedily absorbing the blood essence, and their cultivation has soared to the terrifying 7th level of Saint King, and is still rising at a terrifying speed. Or after some time, you can break through to the Supreme Realm. What? Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Lu Ruoxian, Liang Bing and others looked shocked, and they all looked over nervously. Even Zhang Li looked in disbelief. Take her with you. Do you want to bury her in the dark restricted area? Although her cultivation had returned to the 9th level of the Emperor, Zhang Li did not think she could resist the divine punishment. Don't worry, I'm not trying to hold you back. On this trip, you don't have to follow me into the dark restricted area. You can just wait outside the dark restricted area. Seeing Zhang Li's surprised look, Xiao Chen explained with a slight smile. The dark forbidden zone has been inherited from ancient times to the present, and there is no guarantee that it will not have any shocking details. If Zhang Li was there to help outside the dark restricted area, even if there was any accident during this trip, the two of them could calmly resolve it. Using me as a tool again. Zhang Li couldn't help snorting coldly when she heard this, and turned her head away with a somewhat arrogant expression. Certainly, she didn't refuse. It's just that Xiao Chen's behavior of making her work without feeding her, in her opinion, what is the difference between this and free prostitution? The majestic demon queen of the Northern Territory. It made her, the arrogant devil queen, very unhappy to allow people to prostitute themselves so openly and openly. I think you don't have a suitable emperor weapon yet. I'll give you this purple flame demon whip. Seeing Zhang Li's arrogant look, Xiao Chen helplessly shook his head. After a light smile, take out a weird whip from the system space. This is a treasure found in the opponent's ring after killing Yihu, but the grade is only supreme grade. But the attributes are very suitable for Zhang Li. In addition, he used his appraisal ability to identify that Zhang Li was best at weapons such as long whips. Therefore, it is most appropriate to give this purple flame demon whip to the other party. At the same time as the voice came out, Xiao Chen used his system upgrade ability, and with a flash of white light, the purple flame demonic whip was promoted to monarch level supreme grade. Under the transformation of the system, it transformed into an extreme Dao Emperor weapon, and the terrifying imperial power swept away like a storm. However, with a thought in Xiao Chen's mind, this imperial power disappeared in an instant. Is this really given to me? Looking at the purple flame demon whip in front of her, Zhang Li felt a little unbelievable. This is an extreme Dao Emperor weapon. To the outside world, it was a treasure that could be fought over by many Emperor-level forces. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen gave it to her without blinking. It made her feel like she was dreaming. No, wait a moment. Could this guy be trying to use this Emperor weapon to capture her heart and conquer her body, and then use this whip to tie her up? Hiss, this scumbag really has no good intentions. When thoughts fall, Zhang Li immediately glared at Xiao Chen, and her expression instantly became wary. This sudden change, he looked at Xiao Chen inexplicably. Neuropathy. Give her an extreme Dao Emperor weapon and look like she's guarding against thieves. This woman. Could she have a persecutory delusion, right? Do you want it or not? When the thought came to an end, Xiao Chen asked angrily, saying that he would take back the Emperor weapon. Yes, I want it. Seeing Xiao Chen's action, Zhang Li quickly spoke. Her right hand also instinctively grabbed the purple flame demonic whip, but because it was a subconscious action, she quickly caught Xiao Chen's hand on the back. Coupled with the words she said at this time, it seemed a bit like the slogan shouted by a dissatisfied little daughter-in-law when she asked her husband to hand over public food in the middle of the night. The atmosphere in the wing room instantly became a bit dead, and Lu Ruoxian and others looked at Zhang Li with strange expressions. Are you starting to reveal your inner thoughts? Zhang Li saw the changes in the eyes of Lu Ruoxian and others, and realized at this moment that her words were ambiguous. However, as the demon queen of the Northern Territory, she has lived for thousands of years. At this time, I still felt a little embarrassed, and I couldn't help but have a blush on my pretty face. Staring at Xiao Chen with cannibalistic eyes. Damn it, if it weren't for this guy, how could she have made a slip of the tongue for a moment? Don't let him fall into her hands in the future, otherwise, she will definitely use this long whip to tie him up and beat him severely. Snort. In the middle of the night, the unscrupulous prosecutor forced a good young man to hand over public food. He tore his clothes and even robbed me of a uniform. He said he would come again in the future. Is this ethical? You spend 2 days cultivating and becoming familiar with this Emperor weapon, and on the third day you will set off to the vicinity of the dark restricted area. When we arrive, we'll find a more secluded place over there and check out the situation around the restricted area. Xiao Chen ignored what Zhongli was thinking, after the other party took the purple flame demon whip. He said carefully. After saying that, Xiao Chen took out a space array disc and upgraded it to the Imperial Monarch level. After he put down his cruel words, combined with his previous strength, the Dark Forbidden Zone will definitely call back many emperors and elders. And a dragnet will be set up around the dark restricted area to warn anyone approaching. If Tian Xingjian, Tian Xie and others were sent to rush over first, they would accidentally be discovered by the strong men in the dark restricted area. With the strength of these people, it may be difficult to escape. But Zhongli is different. Now the opponent's cultivation level has been fully restored, and he has the cultivation level of the Great Emperor. Unless the opponent takes the initiative to break into the dark restricted area, or the red-haired old immortal takes action, it will be difficult for other strong men to keep Zhongli. Let me go there first. Zhongli was stunned when she heard Xiao Chen's words. Is she changing from a protector to a tool on the road? Will it turn into meat poop again in the future? Damn man, don't be so frustrated. It's safer to travel alone than 2 people. What's more, I have to improve my cultivation level in the past few days. Looking at Zhongli clenching her silver teeth, her face looked full of anger. Xiao Chen explained casually. Humph, don't you just want to have a big fight? Don't think that I don't know. After muttering something, Zhongli didn't bother to feel uncomfortable here. She didn't have any part in the big fight anyway, so she might as well go back to her room and refine the Emperor weapon. What a big fight, I want to fight alone this time. Xiao Chen rolled his eyes when he heard this. Not bothering to pay attention to this arrogant demon queen, he turned his attention to Luo Yulian and others. Madams, my husband has something to do. He needs to talk to Ruoxian, which may cause some inconvenience. Looking at this group of beauties who were as beautiful as flowers, Xiao Chen coughed dryly and said politely. Duan Muzuying, Luo Yulian and others were all smart women, and they immediately understood what Xiao Chen wanted to do. He glanced at Lu Ruoxian and Xiao Chen with deep meaning. Then we won't disturb my husband and sister Ruoxian. After saying that, Duan Muzuying, Luo Yulian and others did not stay, but consciously exited the wing. 87%. Chapter 418. Penetrating 7 inches into the wood is not a day's work. Soon, as Duan Muzuying, Luo Yulian and others left, Xiao Chen and Lu Ruoxian were the only ones left in the entire wing. Wrong. There are also colorful smoke and colorful butterflies. However, the 2 of them were in the soul refining cauldron of the great wilderness, and they had entered into deep cultivation at this time, so it was not an exaggeration to say that there were 2 people in the room. Ruoxian, this time, I want you to help me break through the Supreme Realm. When the atmosphere became strange, Xiao Chen took the lead to break the deadlock. Then, before Lu Ruoxian could answer, Xiao Chen reached out and pulled the other person into his arms. The fragrance is fragrant, and the nephrite is in the arms. With just a moment of contact, Xiao Chen felt an unknown fire erupting under his lower abdomen. This time, I won't go astray again. Are you ready? Holding Lu Ruoxian's soft waist, Xiao Chen leaned over and whispered in his ear. This short sentence, as if Lu Ruoxian had thought of something, a rare blush appeared on her pretty face. The husband must be careful. If the 10,000-year-old grass and tree spirit is stimulated, the death entanglement it unleashes will be more intense than last time. After the 7 emotions and 6 desires are stimulated. Another side of Lu Ruoxian gradually emerged, and her expression became more and more charming at this moment. Yeah, that husband needs to get to know you. Hearing Lu Ruoxian's words, Xiao Chen raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and then blocked Lu Ruoxian's mouth. Penetrating 7 inches of wood is not something that can be done in a day. He had been looking forward to this day for a long time, and he finally got it today. The next day, the great principal emperor dynasty. Royal Palace. Your Majesty, many strong men sent by the Dark Forbidden Zone have hurried back to the Dark Forbidden Zone. A white-haired old man replied respectfully to Luo Hao. This person. It was Luo Hao's personal old eunuch, Fu Hai. Do you know the reason? After hearing Fu Hai's words, Luo Hao suddenly became energetic. The Dark Forbidden Zone has been searching for Lu Shen, but now it has transferred all the elders back. Is it possible? Is the Dark Forbidden Zone in big trouble? Not sure exactly. But one thing I am sure of is that this matter should be related to the 100 Beasts mountain range. Fuai shook his head when he heard this, and then said in a low voice. Yesterday, a sudden change occurred in the 100 Beasts mountain range. It was suspected that there was a fight between emperors and powerful men. It is said that some people saw the 9-color sky-swallowing python appearing, and it also attracted strong men from the dark restricted area to come. It is suspected that the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone and the Taboo have taken action. What? Hearing Fuai's last words, even though Luo Hao was an emperor, he was still shocked at this moment. The Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone, and the Taboo. To be able to make both of them attack at the same time, how terrifyingly powerful must the other party be? Do you know who is fighting with him? In the inner horror, Luo Hao asked quickly. To your majesty, it is not clear who the other party is, but someone has witnessed a double-headed dragon chariot, which is suspected to be the group of people we have been investigating during this time. After taking a deep breath, Hai Lao reported truthfully. This made Luo Hao's mind roar, and a look of disbelief appeared on his face. The double-headed dragon chariot. Could it be that Lu Shen's whereabouts were exposed and this group of people started fighting with the Dark Forbidden Zone? But why are the sky-swallowing pythons involved? The results of it. Lu Shen was captured alive. That group of people was destroyed. Guessing in his heart, Luo Hao asked again. No. It seems that the Dark Forbidden Zone was defeated in yesterday's battle. Fuai shook his head when he heard this and replied in a low voice. Some powerful people vaguely heard that this person would become a serious danger in the dark restricted area in the future unless he was eliminated. Finally, he saw the two-headed magic dragon chariot leaving safely. It should be that the Lord of the Dark Forbidden Zone is invincible, so he can only summon that taboo to take action. But in the end there was nothing we could do about that group of people. As these words fell, the hall suddenly fell into dead silence. Abby, tell me my will. Stop investigating this group of people first and pay close attention to the movements in the dark restricted area. Also, decree to abolish concubine Yu. Also, I ordered 3 generals, Yuan, Nangong, and Tuoba, to lead an army of 100,000 each to defeat the Yu family for me. After many thoughts flashed through his mind, Luo Hao opened his eyes and said in a cold voice. After Luo Chenfeng died, Yu Fei's actions became more and more unscrupulous. She didn't believe the rhetoric he promulgated at all, and even kept investigating secretly. It is necessary to find out the real culprit who killed Luo Chenfeng. If the other party continues to investigate, they might actually find clues. If Xiao Chen and his group are provoked, the great principal empire may be in trouble. Not to mention, during this period, because of Luo Chenfeng's incident, he unexpectedly found out that Yu Fei and Luo Chenfeng were the protectors. That means Wang Defa is having an affair. This made him completely murderous. The majestic great principal emperor turns out to be a green-haired turtle. What man can bear that? Wang De found that there was nothing he could do about following Xiao Chen, but he could still kill concubine Yu and destroy the Yu family. Old slave, you obey. After hearing Luo Hao's words, Fuai lowered his head and replied. Then he turned around and retreated to issue the decree. When I woke up, I saw classmate Medusa with a stern look on her face. Her eyes seemed to say, I am very angry now. If you dare to come and hit me, can I bear this? On the other side, there is a dark restricted area. After Xiao Chen dropped his cruel words, the entire dark restricted area felt like it was facing a formidable enemy. From time to time, Yelin's roar can be heard echoing through most of the dark restricted area. And to recover from the injury, Yelin also became extremely cruel, and in just 2 days, he sucked the flesh, blood, and essence of countless monsters in the dark restricted area. It did allow him to recover from his injuries, but his strength became mottled and impure, even making it impossible for him to break through to the divine realm. However, in order to cope with the next step, Xiao Chen would knock on the door at any time, and Yi Lan had to do the same. Less than 2 days, with the return of many emperors and elders in the Dark Forbidden Zone, a terrifying formation also enveloped the depths of the Dark Forbidden Zone. This is the complete version of the Dark Knight prison array. Compared to the previous 2 days, the replica that Yi Lan performed with the help of the magic spirit beads was completely different. This formation expanded in the dark restricted area. Let alone a great emperor, even if 3 or 4 came, they would never be able to get out. Once Xiao Chen and the Demon Queen enter, they will only be reduced to fat meat for them to slaughter. There's still 1 day. I want to see if you are just a feint, or if you really have the guts to come. Looking at the mysterious magic patterns flowing in the void, Yilan's expression became more and more ferocious. His eyes returned to Fantasy Heart City. After 2 days of practice and familiarity, Zhongli also completely mastered the purple flame demon vine whip. Feeling the power of this long whip, Zhongli showed an excited look on her face. With the blessing of this extreme Dao Emperor weapon, her combat power will increase by at least 20%. Now, even if she faced Yilan, she was 70% sure that she could defeat him. If it weren't for this Emperor weapon, the opponent was 70% sure that he could defeat her, the Demon Queen. This scumbag would be pretty good if he wasn't irritating. Stroking the head of the purple flame demon whip, Zhongli seemed to have thought of something while murmuring, and a blush appeared on her pretty face. Then after spitting, he ducked out of the wing. I saw Xiao Chen and Lu Ruoxian still having an in-depth conversation in the room. After Zhongli rolled her eyes, she bid farewell to Duan Muzuiying and others, and set off for the dark restricted area. As night falls, after taking first blood one-on-one and completing 10 consecutive kills, a violent aura rose into the sky like a volcano erupting. After 2 days of in-depth exchanges, Xiao Chen finally couldn't hold back and gave back, and his cultivation level was unstoppable and he broke through to the supreme level. And as soon as it breaks through, it skyrockets at a terrifying speed. 87%. Chapter 419. My cultivation has reached the 7th level of Supreme, and I am ready to give gifts to the dark restricted area. My husband has made a breakthrough. Feeling this fluctuation in cultivation, Duan Muzuiying and others looked happy. Less than 4 months. From the Grotto Heaven realm to the Supreme realm, this man of theirs is truly unparalleled in the world. And when several people's thoughts fell, Xiao Chen tore through the void and appeared in the sky above Wanxin City, and then rushed towards the sky without any hesitation. Thunder roared over Wanxin City, and the whole world became dark. Such a horrific scene. It immediately attracted the attention of countless strong men in Wanxin City. Some strong men were even curious and wanted to go up and take a look. However, with the explosion of imperial power, Tian Xingjin's words echoed in the void. After all the strong men were warned, none of them dared to make any move. Over time, the thunderclouds in the void became more and more terrifying, covering almost thousands of miles around the world. A flash of purple appeared in the thundercloud, causing an uproar among the people below. Supreme level purple extreme thunder tribulation. How can this be? What kind of evildoer is here, transcending tribulation, that can actually attract the purple thunder tribulation to come? Seeing the thunder tribulation transforming in the sky, some well-informed and powerful people showed horrified expressions at this moment. Purple extreme thunder tribulation. Only when a person is in a certain realm, his foundation and background are perfectly polished, and his potential and qualifications are enough to alarm God. Only then will the Ziji thunder tribulation test be imposed. In Eastern Domain, some emperors may be able to trigger the purple extreme thunder tribulation below the Saint King level. But the purple thunder above the Saint King realm has not appeared for thousands of years. Unexpectedly, they could actually witness the supreme thunder tribulation in Fantasy City today. If this person does not die, he will definitely be the great emperor in the future. When everyone below was shocked, Xiao Chen looked at the rolling thunderclouds in front of him without any fear on his face. Instead, there was a touch of excitement. The divine punishment seal of destruction still lacks some energy to trigger the divine punishment to wipe out thousands of miles in radius. So, breaking through to the supreme level is also part of his plan. Using the supreme thunder tribulation to charge the divine punishment seal, the power of the divine punishment was simply beyond his imagination. This time, no matter what means the dark forbidden zone has, they can only turn into ashes in the face of absolute strength. When the thought falls, Xiao Chen completely ignored the raging purple thunder and rushed into the center of the thunder cloud like a swimming dragon. Such a bold move shocked everyone again. However, as time goes by, Xiao Chen will be killed by Ziji thunder tribulation as no one wants to see. Only the purple thunder clouds kept rolling in the thunderstorm, gradually weakening after reaching the peak of power, leaving many powerful people below speechless for a long time after watching it. An hour later, as the last burst of thunder erupted from the sky and the earth, the thunderclouds rolling between the sky and the earth also dissipated. Only the power of creation pervades heaven and earth. This made many strong men below ready to take action. If you can plunder part of the power of heavenly calamity at the supreme level, you can definitely greatly increase your own cultivation. However, after feeling the imperial power in the sky, even some Supreme Realm experts did not dare to act rashly at this time. Only Xiao Chen sat cross-legged in the void, frantically refining the power of the heavenly tribulation. I don't know how long it has been. When the morning light fell on the earth the next day, Xiao Chen also opened his closed eyes. A powerful wave of cultivation swept across like a storm. The seventh level of Supreme. Feeling the fluctuations in his cultivation, Xiao Chen had a look of surprise on his face. Unexpectedly, Lu Ruoxian's primordial yin feedback, plus Ziji Thunder Tribulation baptism. It was unexpected that his cultivation reached such a terrifying level as soon as he made a breakthrough. To know, the further you go in your cultivation, the more difficult it will be to achieve a breakthrough. And as soon as he broke through to the Supreme Realm, you can break through 7 small levels in one breath. Looking at the entire Eastern Domain, no, looking at the entire Kanglan Realm, this is an unprecedented and unparalleled miracle. Congratulations to the Lord Demon Lord for his unparalleled magical power. He broke through the 7th level in a row. Looking at the hundreds of millions of years of history of the Kanglan Realm, there is absolutely no. When Xiao Chen restrained his cultivation aura and felt how powerful he was, Tian Xie was the first to flatter him. This left Tian Xingjian and others speechless. Okay, you should hurry up and restore your cultivation. If you catch up with me in cultivation in the future, your thousands of years will be in vain. Xiao Chen waved his hand when he heard this, interrupting Tian Xie's flattery. There was a hint of embarrassment on several people's faces. With Xiao Chen's terrifying cultivation speed, it probably won't take long for him to reach the Emperor realm. It would be easy to catch up with them in cultivation. After replying casually, Xiao Chen fell down. After explaining to Duan Muzuying and others, Xiao Chen did not stay in the Myriad Treasures Chamber of Commerce. Get in touch with Zhongli at Transhan. Knowing that the opponent had arrived 100 miles away from the dark restricted area, Xiao Chen did not hesitate to use the arrayed disc to teleport there. After today, maybe there is no dark forbidden area in the world. After giving Medusa some nutritious breakfast milk, and after washing up, I saw my sister-in-law transformed into a cat-eared girl, saying that the cat wanted to steal some fish, and I suddenly felt a pain in my balls. Hundreds of miles away from the dark restricted area. In a mountain forest shrouded in mist, Zhongli waved the purple flame demonic whip in all boredom, and then struck a puppet hard with the whip. Still mumbling, "You scumbag, raise your butt higher and see if I can spank you to death today." The clay doll in front of him looks like Xiao Chen. At this time, the doll is lying on the ground. The buttocks were raised high and pointed towards Zhongli, causing the queen to show an expression of pleasure, but also some shame and excitement. Buzz. After Zhongli struck down another whip, the space array disc placed aside also buzzed at this time. As the space distorted, Xiao Chen also took a step forward. The clay doll instantly turned into a pile of gravel, and Zhongli's expression returned to a cold look. But after feeling the fluctuations in Xiao Chen's cultivation, her pupils couldn't help but shrink. 7th level of Supreme. As soon as you broke through, you reached the 7th level of Supreme. It seemed a little too unbelievable. Zhongli couldn't help but ask. To know, she is extremely talented and evil. When I first broke through to the Supreme Realm, I only reached the 4th level of the Supreme Realm. And Xiao Chen actually broke through the 7th level of Small Realm in one breakthrough. Can this guy still be considered a normal person? It's just a fluke. Xiao Chen smiled lightly when he heard this. Absorbing Lu Ruoxian's primordial yin and repaying it, coupled with the perfect absorption of Ziji Thunder Tribulation, if he couldn't reach this point. I feel ashamed of Lu Ruoxian, the 10,000-year-old willow essence. After saying something, Xiao Chen looked at Zhongli and then at the soil on the ground. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. No need to think. You can also guess what Zhongli was doing just now. I never expected that this woman, with such a special hobby, is worthy of being the demon queen of the Northern Territory. It's best not to let him take this woman down from now on. Otherwise, with this little leather whip, he would let the other person know who it was used to whip. How is it going? Suppressing this thought in his mind, Xiao Chen looked into the distance and asked in a low voice. There are demon spirit clan informants all around the dark restricted area. They will know if there is any trouble. And inside, the dark atmosphere has become extremely heavy, and it is suspected that there is an emperor-level formation covering the world. Hear Xiao Chen's words. Zhongli truthfully told Xiao Chen all the information she perceived. If she hadn't specialized in the power of magic patterns, she might not have been able to sense the formation fluctuations in the restricted area. That obscure emperor-level formation gave her a strong sense of crisis. If you get caught in it, you will be in danger of life and death. 87%. Chapter 420. It seems I can give these guys a surprise. Hooray! Xiao Chen smiled lightly when he heard this. Unless this formation exceeds the limits of heaven and earth, they will not be able to block the thunder tribulation. As he spoke, Xiao Chen seemed to have thought of something, and his voice became deeper at this moment. What we need to be wary of is the old immortal. Does the opponent have any life-saving cards, such as fake death or resurrection? So, after the thunder tribulation, you must enter the restricted area to investigate the situation as soon as possible. He can resurrect himself and others through the system. It is impossible to protect this world. These immortals who have lived for tens of thousands of years do not have similar life-saving abilities, such as the reorganization of flesh and blood and residual souls. Or it could be soul splitting and transfer and the like. Therefore, we must eliminate all possibilities of survival for the other party. Zhongli did not raise any objections when she heard this, but nodded solemnly. Then he looked into the depths of the dark restricted area. Do you need me to escort you into the dark restricted area? Xiao Chen currently only has the 7th level of supreme cultivation, so it will be very difficult for him to reach the depths of the dark restricted area. Need not. I won't be stupid enough to go in directly. Sneaking in secretly will be more effective. Xiao Chen shook his head when he heard this and rejected Zhongli's proposal. Once the divine punishment is triggered, the laws of thousands of miles around will be instantly distorted, sealing off the world like a cage. Even the powerful great emperor cannot teleport away. If Zhongli escorts him in and is accidentally entangled by a strong person, he will be in trouble before he can escape in time. Even though Zhongli was killed by heaven's punishment, he could still resurrect her. But the opponent's cultivation will be reduced to nothing, and a lot of time will be wasted if he wants to recover again. Not to mention, the other party will also leave a psychological shadow. As he finished speaking, a burst of black flames surged out of Xiao Chen's body, and his body gradually became blurred. This made Zhongli's pupils shrink suddenly. Because this black flame actually exudes a pure dark aura, which is exactly the same as the Night Demon clan. You can actually disguise yourself as your own race. Seeing Xiao Chen turn into a demonic shadow, Zhongli asked in shock. If she didn't know that the person in front of her was Xiao Chen, she might have suspected that this guy was from the Night Demon clan. This guy actually has such a method. It's just a small trick. Xiao Chen didn't show off too much, he just replied in a calm voice. After reaching the supreme level, he unlocked some secret techniques. Not only can the Chaos Prime be used to simulate other Prime attributes, but it can even be used to replicate other people's divine ability. He had helped Lu Ruoxian purify the unknown power of darkness, and not long ago he had a brutal fight with Yi Lan, so he was already quite familiar with the unknown power of darkness. It is not difficult to simulate it at this time. In addition, he also practiced the heavenly demon shadowless step. After practicing this movement to the extreme, he can also turn himself into a demonic shadow. It is somewhat similar to the talent of the Night Demon clan. I'm in. Take it easy, don't let anything happen. After his body was completely blurred, Xiao Chen transformed into a night demon and sneaked into the dark restricted area. This guy. Looking at Xiao Chen's retreating back, Zhongli couldn't help but frown, with a rare look of worry on her face. Damn it, why can't I help but worry about this guy? Not relatives, not friends. If he dies, I can be free. Besides, this guy has the ability to resurrect. I'm worried about a hammer. After cursing and scorning herself, Zhongli condensed another clay doll. Then he whipped out the long whip and whipped it hard, and the worry on his face turned into excitement and satisfaction. Even she didn't realize that as Xiao Chen appeared in her world, her character became more and more weird. Well, more like a normal woman. Seeing that I was stunned, my sister-in-law urged me to play with cat sticks and quail eggs. This was really sinful. It was so embarrassing for me to play with these weird things so early in the morning. The other side, looking at the mountain forest surrounded by black mist, Xiao Chen also had a sneer on his face. The figure was like a ghost, turning into smoke and rushing in. Not even the many monster sentries guarding the perimeter were alerted. As his body completely merged into the black mist, Xiao Chen felt as if he was in a deserted place. In less than half a quarter of an hour, they traveled thousands of miles across the dark restricted area and directly arrived at the inner perimeter of the dark restricted area. Next moment, Xiao Chen suddenly stopped and looked forward with strange eyes. Under the system identification function, the formation hidden in the sky and earth in front of him also clearly appeared in front of him at this moment. Dark Knight Prison Formation. Emperor Monarch Level Supreme Grade Formation. The Emperor level formation is made by smelting many materials using the Extreme Dao Emperor Weapon Night Demon Soul Banner as the formation base, using the blood essence of the 8 Great Emperor Monarch level monsters as the introduction. If they were not members of the Night Demon clan, they would surely suffer backlash once they entered. If the formation is fully activated, it can easily cover a radius of thousands of miles and kill strong men at the level of the Great Emperor realm. Only people from the Night Demon clan can enter. After checking the information about the formation in front of him, Xiao Chen showed a solemn look on his face and stretched out his hand to press the formation light screen in front of him. I wonder if the dark power he simulated can deceive this Emperor level formation. As the palm came into contact with the formation light screen, ripples appeared on the formation light screen. Just what Xiao Chen thought. When this formation was about to explode, who would have thought that his arm would easily fall into the formation? Breakthrough. Seeing his arm submerged in the formation's light screen, Xiao Chen's face showed a hint of surprise. Did not expect. The simulation ability of the art of creation Chenkin is so terrifying that even the Monarch level Supreme Grade formation can be easily deceived. I thought it would take a lot of effort, but I didn't expect it to be so easy. It seems I can give these guys a surprise. In the murmur of words, Xiao Chen swaggered into the formation and looked into the depths of the dark restricted area. The thunder tribulation summoned by the world-destroying seal can cover a radius of thousands of miles. But if he wanted to catch Yilan and others in one fell swoop, he had to go deep into the deepest part. After all, his biggest target this time is the old red-haired immortal. It would be difficult for him to feel at ease unless the other party died. Who is where? When Xiao Chen's thoughts fell. The demon team patrolling the dark restricted area also discovered Xiao Chen, an outsider. Everyone was like soldiers, and they immediately surrounded Xiao Chen. When Xiao Chen saw this, he didn't panic at all. Instead, his cultivation fluctuated directly. The aura of dark and ominous power swept across like a tsunami. Roll. If you miss me and report the information, all of you will die. After saying something with a cold voice, Xiao Chen raised his hand to blast away these people and rushed towards the depths of the restricted area. That kind of cold and domineering attitude is like a real strong man from the demon spirit tribe. What a terrifying demonic power. I don't know which demon lord it is. Xiao Chen knocked him to the ground with a casual palm, and many of the demon spirit tribe soldiers looked in awe. The dark restricted area is strictly hierarchical. These demon spirits below the supreme realm dare not offend these high-level demon spirits. Then, in this swagger, Xiao Chen came to the depths of the dark restricted area as if he were in a deserted place. Looking at the huge palaces standing in front of me, there are many mysterious atmospheres permeating the world. A sneer appeared on Xiao Chen's face, and he immediately took off his disguise. The chaos pure world thunder and fire soared into the sky over him like a volcano erupting. To the sky over him like a volcano erupting. To the sky over him like a